No, I wouldn't say that I'm a crazy Twilight fan, and I don't know why you would say that. Microphone died already. I'm getting a little bit chilly. I'm just gonna pull out this random blanket that I happen to have. Oh my god, that's so much better. Let me pull up my script. This is already off to a terrible start. Imagine a world where wolves and vampires intermingle. One girl, 1,000 men want her. And that's because she's not like other girls. Her fears include paper cuts, rain, and eating a full meal. Things she doesn't fear: pain, death, extreme speeds, and jumping from high places. And that's because she's not like other girls. Will she choose the love of her life, the person that she ride or dies for, the person that she claims she cannot live without, or will she choose the other one? That was so mean. But if you watch the video, like, I filmed the video before I'm filming this intro, you'll understand why I'm saying that, okay? Will she choose the love of her life or her best friend? Can she define the word manipulation? Can she beat the surprising traditional values of a 109-year-old vampire and another V word that I'm thinking of? Can she escape the strange, possessive clutches of her 16-year-old best friend who transforms into a dog? Let's dive in. Okay, you guys, before I get into the video, this was the worst start to a video ever, but I'm loving all the memorabilia. Okay, I want to kind of go over my little Twilight collection right here quickly, okay, because this video is already way too fucking long. Also, like, you're about to have a quality drop. Like, I did not use a microphone to film the rest of the vlog. It's literally a chill reading vlog where I'm just fucking ranting. Like, I just was feeling a bit dramatic today. First up, we have classic Twilight shirt. Let me model it for you. Classic Twilight shirt, thanks to one of my best friends, Anissa, who we met on Bumble BFF last year. It was truly a gamble. She literally knows me so well already. This is one of the best, most thoughtful gifts I've ever gotten. Like, I sleep in this shirt, I live in this shirt, I fucking love it. The rest of these, though, like, we have obviously the full Twilight series, it's not in order, but I've had these since high school at least, like maybe even before high school, maybe even like 7th or 8th grade. I remember begging my mom for these, and she pulled that thing where she like would take off like the sleeve of another book and she would put it on these books so that she could read them, but she was being like, so she could read them in front of me before she gifted them to me for Christmas, but she was being like really weird and suspicious about it. So I would go in and like look at which book she was reading, and it was always Twilight, and I was like, this fucking bitch, she knows that I want Twilight, she knows that I want to fucking read Twilight, and yet she's hiding them from me. Like, I was so offended. And then when I got them on Christmas, I was like, oh my god, I can't believe that you remembered. Anyway, so that was a long time ago, but I recently got the Life and Death book and the Short Second Life of Bree Tanner, and of course Midnight Sun was back in like 2020 or something. I got it upon release. I was so excited to read that. Next we have this Eclipse doll. It is a doll of Jane. Okay, I remember when I first got this, I was like, my mom also got me this. She was like, I got you a doll of Jane. I'm like, Jane is a strange choice because I was not a fan of Jane back in the day. Like, we could have done any other character and we're picking Jane, but now it's kind of slay, and she's an actual Barbie. It's kind of a fucking slay. I love Jane's character now. Like, thank you, mom. And she was like, yeah, you gotta keep it in the packaging. You have to keep it in tip top shape because she could be worth something one day. And you know what? Maybe she will. And thank God. Thank God I've kept her in such pristine conditions. As you can see, such pristine conditions, not a scratch on her. I literally keep her in a box under my bed, but when I was younger, I used to have her up on the shelf. I should put her back up on the shelf. Next up, we have this Twilight cup, okay? So I put a straw in here, like, just so I can get some, like, ASMR ice sounds. I was like, this would be, like, you know, like, attention grabber, okay? It's, like, 3D. Do you see that shit? She's moving. Oh, yeah. Are you fucking kidding me? Iconic. This was my favorite cup I don't even know. I think we might have just been like in a Walmart one day when I was younger and I was like, I need that cup. But I can't even drink out of her. Like I genuinely can't drink out of her. And the reason for that is because this is our shower cup and it's been our shower cup since God knows fucking when. And by shower cup, like I don't know if other people have shower cups. I know like a bathroom cup is fairly common to like after you're brushing your teeth or whatever. This bathroom cup, like truly, I think I had to like rinse some hairs out of the bottom of it. Like she has just been around. Okay, like shaving blades have been in there. Like it's been used for brushing our teeth when we're camping. She's been used as like to help wash our hair when we're in the bathtub, like whatever it may be. She has been used for that and I can't drink out of her like ever. But she's iconic and I really wish that I could. This is like the equivalent of those like huge salad bowls that you would use to eat popcorn out of, but everyone in the family has thrown up in it. And I saw a TikTok of that recently, and like half the comments were like so true, and the other half of the comments were like, that's actually foul. But I feel like that's just like family things. like there's multi-purposes for everything. Last but not least, we have the Jacob Black Breaking Dawn blanket. She's also been through it. I was Team Jacob in the past when I was younger. When I watched the movies, when I read the books, I was Team Jacob. And I know I say that now and again throughout these Twilight videos, but I just feel like no one will believe me because of the absolute like slander I put on Jacob Black's name. But on like closer inspection, I can't be Team Jacob because it's not morally correct. I can barely even be Team Edward, okay? I'm fighting for my life right now. But yeah, I was obsessed with Taylor Lautner. I loved him so much. And I remember like asking for a blanket of some sort for Christmas one year and I didn't get it. And then a few weeks later my dad was like, "Oh my god, look what we found." They hid all their Christmas gifts one year like up in the attic. He was like, "Yeah, we just forgot about this blanket up in the attic." And I was like, ah. Oh my god. Oh fuck. It's the love of my life. And now, my cat, Charlie Swan. Oh my god, let me see if I can find her to make an appearance. But my cat, Charlie Swan, sleeps on this blankie. And my mom was trying to take my cute blanket out of my car, like my car blanket, and was like, "Why don't you put the Jacob Black blanket in there?" And I'm like, "I can't. Like, I would love to, but anyway." We named my cat Charlie Swan. She's a girl. Don't misgender her. Thank you very much. It's okay. It happens all the time. We named her Charlie Swan, and my dad was like, "We can't name her a boy's name." And I was like, "Yeah, we fucking can." All right, and Charlie Swan is perfect because I can't be Team Edward or Team Jacob. I have to be Team Charlie. I always have been Team Charlie. I will be Team Charlie till the day I fucking die. He is the hottest man in the movie. Oh, I love that man. I love that man so much. So let me go see if I can find Charlie Swan so we can talk to her. She's not in the fucking mood, but I'll get her later. I'll get her later. Don't you worry about it. It's a little bit later. I caught her at a better time. And by that I mean she just woke up from a nap. This is Charlie Swan. She just wants to go back to bed. I was really hoping you guys were gonna see how fucking sassy she is because she's nothing like the real Charlie Swan. At least you get to see how cute she is. So now, on to the reading vlog. Comment your opinions on everything down below, okay? I'm counting on you. Hi, best friends. We are gonna talk about Eclipse. How excited are you? I'm so excited. Okay, I literally just posted my new moon vlog the other day. It's doing pretty well. We're doing okay. A few people agreed with me that New Moon is the best book. A few people didn't and thought that Breaking Dawn is the best, which honestly I do really like Breaking Dawn, so that's valid. But let's talk about Eclipse. It feels a lot slower to me because it seems like the only main conflict in this book is somebody is after Bella but they don't know who, which is so weird considering they figured out in the last book that Victoria was the one that was after her. So why is nobody thinking that Victoria is the problem? Really not sure. And it just seems like it's a vampire werewolf standoff situation and Bella's in the middle, but like nothing really happens. Like this is how far I've read into it so far. Literally nothing has happened yet. I wouldn't say this is my favorite book, but do I have some things that we can talk about? Of course. Like obviously, I love to yap. We have the tomato mug today. I love this mug. So we start off this book with Fire and Ice.
Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire, but if I had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. A Robert Frost poem, which we also see recited in the movie. I actually really like that because sometimes books do have this little like poem to open the book, or they'll open the book with a quote or something, and to include that in the movie adaptation is interesting, and I don't know of any other franchise that does that, like incorporates that. So we're starting off the book with noting that there has been a lot more disappearances. So remember in New Moon, a lot of people were disappearing and Bella was just learning about the werewolves, so she thought that the werewolves were the reason for the disappearances. But then she learns that the werewolves' purpose is to protect people in Forks, and that vampires are really the culprits. Edward is only allowed to see her from 7 till 9:30 p.m., always inside the confines of her home and under the supervision of her dad's crabby glare. So Charlie absolutely hates Edward because of what he did in New Moon. Leaving Bella, abandoning her for months. She went through like all this turmoil, all of these scary nightmares. I'm on Charlie's side. I think that he has a right to hate Edward. I think he has a right to be mad in general. But it goes on for so long. Like where I'm at, Charlie is still fucking rude to Edward, and it's like bordering bullying at this point because obviously Charlie is a grown man and Edward is also a grown man, but Charlie thinks that Edward is a 17-year-old man. Right. So a lot of these murders are now happening in Seattle, which is a bigger city near Forks. Charlie decides that Bella doesn't have to be grounded anymore. She is allowed to leave the house. But he asks her to see her other friends and see Jacob. He is also a ride or die for Jacob. And as much as I was kind of writing for Jacob in the New Moon book, the way Jacob is acting in this book is actually fucking sickening, and I cannot wait till we get to that part to talk about it, because ever since I read what he did to Bella, I can't stop thinking about it. Like, I don't even want to pick up the book anymore because of the way it was treated in this novel. I think your life would be better balanced if you kept some other people in it. What happened last September, ... which is valid. Like, yes, she is so annoying because all she cared about was Edward, and then she was in a depression. She forgot about all of her friends. She transferred all of that love over to Jacob, another man who loved her and gave her attention, might I add, and ditched all her friends. Like, I know she's young and this is her first boyfriend or whatever, but Charlie has some good advice. Charlie keeps telling her to go see Jacob, and Bella's like, I don't think friendship is enough for him, meaning like, we're not really friends because he's in love with me. Charlie says, isn't Edward up for a little healthy competition? And this is where it starts, okay? I think that this comment by itself can be kind of funny. Oh my god, competition. He hates Edward. He loves Jacob. He wants Bella to be with Jacob. Bella is trying to explain to her dad that she's uncomfortable with the fact that Jake is in love with her. And this doesn't necessarily only have to do with the fact that she has a boyfriend, although she does. She doesn't want to be with him no matter what, no matter how she feels about him, no matter how much she loves him. She doesn't want to be with him, and she's not going to be with him. So her dad chalking this up to like, oh, healthy competition, as if like, give Jake a chance, basically, rather than addressing her concerns, is concerning in retrospect. Like I said, if this was it, if this is how far it went, we can just chalk this up to like a parent moment, like, oh, so funny, whatever. But it gets worse, and that's why this comment is a little bit alarming to me. You're hurting Jake's feelings avoiding him like this. He'd rather be just friends than nothing. So then Edward comes over and they're talking about all of the disappearances, and Edward's like, for sure this is a vampire doing this, and for sure it is a newborn vampire. So this is the first time we're really hearing about newborn vampires specifically, which is pretty interesting. All the signs are there. The unlikely disappearances, always in the night, the poorly disposed of corpses, the lack of other evidence. Bella does want to go see Jake because as much as they're like in a fight right now because Jacob is mad at her for wanting to become a vampire, she doesn't want to lose Jake. But Edward says, you're basically not allowed to go see him because he's a werewolf and he's dangerous. It would break the treaty if any of us crossed over. Do you want to start a war? He's basically like, I need to protect you if you see Jacob, and since I can't go over to the reservation because it would break the treaty, you can't go. And is even like making her feel bad, like, do you want that? Do you want a war to start? Do you want us to like break the treaty? He also explains some lore behind the whole treaty thing. I love any like of the history portions of this series. We started crossing paths with the wolves about 70 years ago. That was before Alice and Jasper were with us. Carlisle managed to convince them that coexisting was possible, and eventually we made a truce. Edward then makes a joke about Bella's bad luck. Do you realize that your insatiable pull for all things deadly was strong enough to recover a pack of mutant canines from extinction? So essentially, the werewolves ceased to be. They were no more. You can basically choose to stop being a werewolf, I guess. So you know what? Remember when Bella asked if Jacob could just not be a werewolf? And I was like, that's ridiculous. He is what he is. Technically, you can choose to stop transforming into a wolf, and when you choose that, you will age like a normal person. But if you continue to be a werewolf, then you'll live forever. So at some point, they all decided not to be wolves anymore, and so they were essentially extinct. But the transformation occurred again when all the vampires came into town. Bella's like, is he serious? He can't actually believe that I'm the reason for the werewolves coming back. Like, he has no idea what's going on. The werewolves came back because the vampires did. Jacob told me that your family being here set things in motion. I thought you would already know this. Is that what they think? Edward says. Carlisle will be interested in the theory. Bella basically says, I'm gonna go see Jacob anyway. And he's like, I'm gonna stop you. So we're starting off with toxic Edward doing just fine, all right? He is making choices. I'll be back to discuss some more. I am going on a date tonight, not with the man that I was talking about in the last video, with a different man, and I honestly have zero hopes. I just like can't have expectations for dating anymore. The guy I was cheesing about in the last video was actually like the first guy that I was interested in, or like that I actually liked, that I went out with all of 2024, and it just didn't work out. It's just sad. It was like the first person I liked since my ex, which was like over a year now. Like, I guess a first date with someone else isn't gonna hurt, or it might. We'll see. Hey. Okay, I know I'm in the same spot as I was last time. We're gonna have to bring in some diverse landscapes at some point, but this is where I am right now. So let's talk. In New Moon, the gift that Bella got from Edward's family were plane tickets to go see Rene in Florida. And Edward's like, these are going to expire, but I wonder if he has any like ulterior motives for why he needs Bella to get out of town. Bella says no, that she doesn't want to go, but Edward basically like bulldozes the situation and tells Charlie about it. And Charlie says, it's probably a good idea that you visit your mom, Bella. She'd love that. I'm surprised you didn't say anything about this, though. How many tickets did your parents give her? Just one for her and one for me. That's out of the question. Charlie was abruptly enraged, shouting the words. Why? Edward asked. You just said it was a good idea for her to see her mother. You're not going anywhere with him, young lady, he yelled. It's just like giving embarrassing. It's giving ridiculous. Like, he hates Edward so much. It just like, it doesn't feel realistic that he would throw a fit like that. You're not going anywhere with him, young lady. I don't know. That doesn't like sound real to me. Like, I'm only 50 pages in and Charlie hating Edward is already getting really old, and like, let's think about it. Charlie is mad at what he thinks is a 17-year-old boy. I understand, but you gotta just like let it go at a certain point. Bella asks if Edward wants her to leave town because the Blacks are having like this huge party that her dad wanted her to go to, and he says no, that doesn't matter, like you weren't going anyway. And she said it was just like with Charlie before, just like being treated as a misbehaving child. And I noted that this is like a really crazy power imbalance. Your boyfriend shouldn't be making you feel like a child, and if he is, maybe it's because he's 100 years older than you. There's this really fun description of Edward and Alice playing chess that I really enjoyed. They'd sat there nearly motionless, staring at the board, while Alice foresaw the moves he would make, and he picked the moves she would make in return out of her head. But I don't want to be an asshole. I feel like I can poke holes in this because there are so many times throughout this book where Alice wants to keep something from Edward, or even Jacob. Jacob wants to keep something from Edward, so they'll be very, very careful not to think about that thing. They'll just think about something else, because if they think about it, then Edward can read their mind. But if that was the case, why wouldn't Alice just think about something else so that she could win the chess game? Like, yeah, it was a fun description. Yeah, it's really interesting, but, like, I can't help it. And then, this part is fucking crazy. The sex talk with Charlie, okay? Okay, Bella, here's the thing. He got up from the couch and started pacing back and forth across the room, looking at his feet all the time. You and Edward seem pretty serious, and there are some things that you need to be careful about. I know you're an adult now, but you're still young, Bella, and there are a lot of important things you need to know when you're physically involved with, oh, please, please no, I begged. Please tell me you're not trying to have a sex talk with me, Charlie. I'm your father. I have a responsibility. Remember, I'm just as embarrassed as you are. Anyway, Mom beat you to the punch about 10 years ago. You're off the hook. 10 years ago, you didn't have a boyfriend. Just tell me that you two are being responsible. Don't worry about it, Dad. It's not like that. It's not that I don't trust you, Bella. I know the times have changed. Maybe the times have, but Edward is very old-fashioned. You have nothing to worry about. Which is kind of like how the conversation went in the movie. Dad, really, I'm a virgin, and I have no immediate plans to change that status. We both cringed. And I think this reaction makes more sense than it was done in the movie. I remember even when I was a kid, dude, no, I literally have this memory all the time. I remember watching this movie as a kid with my mom, and I asked her, what's a virgin? Like, I wasn't stupid, but I just never, like, heard that term before. So she told me what it meant, and then I was like, oh, then why does he have such a bad reaction? Like, shouldn't that be a good thing? Isn't that, like, what he wanted to hear? And my mom had no answer for me on that one. But I always think that when I watch this, because after she says, Dad, I'm a virgin, he goes, like, I don't, what, this is what you wanted to hear. You wanted to hear that she was a virgin, so why? Like, this reaction makes more sense to me, is all I want to say.
You guys are taking precautions.
Okay, Dad, please just don't worry about that. Edward is old school.
Old school. Great. What's that, like code for something?
Oh my God, Dad, I'm a virgin.
Okay, good.
So Bella still misses Jake and decides that she is going to go visit Jake tonight, okay? She goes to turn on her truck. It's not working. Then she realizes that she's not alone in the truck. Edward sat very still, a faint bright spot in the darkness, only his hands moving as he turned a mysterious black object around and around. He stared at the object as he spoke. Alice called, he murmured. When you decide to mingle your fate with theirs, you disappear too. You couldn't know that part, I realized that. But can you understand why this might make me a little anxious? Alice saw you disappear, and she couldn't even tell if you'd come home or not. Your future got lost, just like theirs. I haven't had any trouble reading their thoughts. Carlyle theorizes it's because their lives are so ruled by their transformations. It's more of an involuntary reaction than a decision, utterly unpredictable, and it changes everything about them. In that instant, when they shift from one form to another, they don't really even exist. The future can't hold them. So this is like an explanation for why Alice can't see them in the visions, but Edward can read their minds, and I think it's just like more convenient if Edward can read their minds. So like this huge like convoluted excuse, the wolves, I mean. And I also noted, if nobody can use their gifts on Bella, why can Alice? It just feels like the rules are bent. Like, it's more convenient if Alice, like, it's more dramatic if Alice can see where Bella's going, right? But it would make more sense if she didn't. I don't know. But regardless, let's go back to the point here. Edward took a part out of Bella's car so that she couldn't go see Jacob. He is back to being, like, really creepy and really controlling, and it's just weird that he was, like, sitting there brooding, like sitting in her truck in the dark waiting for her to come and turn it on, and then he was just sitting there like, you gotta understand, like, no, it's fucking weird. It's fucking weird, okay? I retrieved my keys and climbed out of the truck. She literally didn't even speak to him or say anything, which is like, that says everything, right? Like, she can't even be like funnily annoyed with him. It's like, whoa, man, like, you're taking it a little bit too far. Like, at this point, it doesn't even feel like it's about her safety. It's about literally controlling her. Like, this hatred that he has for the werewolves, it's about her safety. It's about her safety. Shut your window if you want me to stay away tonight. I'll understand, he says. I shoved the metal frame roughly. It crashed shut and the glass trembled. Then I sighed and opened the window as wide as it would go. Like, she knows she's mad. She knows she's annoyed, but she can't stop herself from seeing him. but it feels like she's caught. I don't know, like she swears up and down, left and right, that she is in love with this man, right? But it just feels like he is like brainwashing her and controlling her. And like 1 second he'll be like, I want you to have a life, I want you to be human, you can leave me if you want. And then the second he's like not even letting her drive her own truck. So it's just very toxic. I'm gonna leave that here for now because quite frankly I'm feeling very brain dead and I am not making very good commentary, so I'll be back later. You guys, I've been on quite the journey today. Please tell me this is gonna work. Yay! Okay, first of all, so you guys remember in my last vlog when I was like, oh my god, my man who's not my man is texting me, and I was like geeking? Yeah, we're not sure if we're still talking to him or not. Why is this vlog literally all over the map? The guy I'm talking about right now is the guy like 10 minutes ago that I was like, oh, it didn't work out, I'm going out with a different man. Man number one. This is man number one. Didn't work out, but then I got a suspicious text message from him. Went out with this other man, was not a vibe. We're not talking to him. I had to craft a beautifully worded text message to an apology today. So that's where we're at with that. I'm currently in an eye doctor parking lot because I had to drive my dad to the eye doctor. He got eye surgery and he literally was like walking around with this eye patch on. And he was like, no, I think I can drive myself today. Like my eye isn't so bad. I like looked in his eye. It was the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, no, it's kind of far. Like there's snow on the ground. I think I'm gonna drive you. But now I'm like sitting in the parking lot. I already sent my text message. That was basically all that was on the to-do list, so I thought we could talk about Eclipse while I'm killing time. This is how far I've read so far. I also already had to go inside this scary white building to pee because something about my bladder is like terrible. I can't go anywhere. I can't go like 2 hours without having to go to the bathroom. And I've been drinking this coffee. Also, did Tim Hortons change their oat milk? Because this is like delicious. And the oat milk before was disgusting. So Edward and Bella do go visit Rene, but the way this is written is very interesting because it's almost like in retrospect, like she's remembering this trip rather than us really being there. She said Rene began to watch, and as she watched, her wide blue eyes had become first confused and then concerned. There's something strange about the way you two are together, she murmured. The way he watches you, it's so protective, like he's about to throw himself in front of a bullet to save you or something. That's a bad thing? No, it's just different. He's very intense about you. Though Rene is not really a great mother, she is very perceptive to the weirdness of the situation. When Bella literally first walks in the door after this vacation, Charlie's like, can you call Jacob? He's been calling me every 5 minutes trying to talk to you, which is news to her because Jacob has been ignoring her. And then Bella thinks, it felt sort of like homesickness, this longing for the place and person who had sheltered me through my darkest night. Okay, that makes sense. He was there for her when she was depressed, but is that all this friendship is? Like, it feels more like I owe everything to Jacob because Jacob saved me and I want to be there for him. But that's all this friendship is really built upon, you know? Like, without that, would they be best friends? I don't know. She calls Jacob and he asks if she's going to school tomorrow. She says yes, why? He's like, don't worry about it. He says that he wanted to hear her voice. Bella tells Edward that she wants to leave Forks before Edward changes her so that they don't break the treaty, but I'm pretty sure we talk about later how that would break the treaty regardless. Like, it doesn't have to be in Forks for it to break the treaty. They pull up to school and Edward's like, stay in the car. Bella, of course, doesn't stay in the car. That's when I saw him. He would have been hard to miss, towering over the students the way he did, even if he had been leaning against his black motorcycle, parked illegally on the sidewalk. He was looking for a safe place to talk to me, a place with witnesses. I noticed other faces too, the faces of my classmates. I noticed how their eyes widened as they took in all 6'7" of Jacob's long body, muscled up the way no normal 16-and-a-half-year-old had ever been. This description is crazy. I saw those eyes rake over his tight black t-shirt, short-sleeved. Though the day was unseasonably cool, with a sense of astonishment I realized that Jacob looked dangerous to them. How odd. Because Bella just doesn't see him that way. Because Bella just doesn't sense danger. Like, how weird that these silly humans would think that he's dangerous. You could have called us, Edward said. Sorry, Jacob answered. I don't have him. Sorry. Sorry, Jacob answered. I don't have any leeches on. I can't even say it. I don't have any leeches on my speed dial. It's not even that funny, like, seriously. You guys, it is really snowing. Like, it has been snowing for the past couple of days. I really want to get outside and film, like, an ASMR video with the snow. Follow my ASMR channel if you haven't already, if you like ASMR, of course. So Jacob basically says, didn't Edward tell you that his big brother crossed the line the other day? Emmett and Paul, I whispered. So Emmett and Paul got into a fight, and Edward didn't want Bella to know about this. So he's still lying to her and keeping secrets from her, which is like to keep her safe or whatever. That's fucking literally the most annoying argument ever, because you shouldn't be lying to your partner like this regardless. No one fought, Edward said quietly. No one got hurt. Don't be anxious. Is that why you took her away? Jacob asked. So she wouldn't know? And then I saw Mike next to Ben. Mike had one hand on Ben's shoulder like he was holding him in place. What are you talking about? What is Ben gonna do? So basically Victoria came back and Edward took Bella out of town so the rest of the crew could try to get her. And he didn't want Bella to know about it. Jacob's basically saying, it is better for you to scare her than lie to her, and I would have to agree with that. I think that's the healthiest thing anyone in this book has ever said, honestly. Audio like totally tripped out and muted itself, so we have some blanks to fill in. So Jacob says that he was wrong before about him and Bella not being able to be friends. Like, he's really desperate not to lose her, and says that maybe they could work something out if she comes to see him. But I also made a note about how Edward and Jacob are somehow both the bad guy. When we think of like Team Jacob and Team Edward, I feel like normally in these love triangles, there's like a bad guy and a good guy, but somehow they are both the good guy and both the bad guy. These two men are both incredibly controlling, and Jacob is kind of painted as like the good guy option at first. But then once he turns into a werewolf, everything he does is so like aggressive, very forceful. And it's like he's turned into the bad guy, which makes Edward look like the good guy in turn. But Edward isn't the good guy either, because he's very, very controlling. He has been violent and like aggressive with Bella as well. And like, truly, neither of these men are really good options when you really look at it. So in class, they write notes to each other, and this is Edward's perfect scroll. He admits that Emmett and Jasper almost had Victoria. He admits that the wolves might have had her too if they hadn't have gone in the way. So we're having kind of, I think this is honestly a really good kind of lead up to the vampires and the wolves eventually like forming this truce and working together, because it's clear that like they're both qualified for the job, but they're getting in each other's ways. Bella also quits her job at Newton's little like hiking store or whatever it is. I feel like it was such a small part of New Moon, like she got this job, and like I would have loved to have seen more of that, like known more about it, like why did she quit? I'm not really sure. So she goes to one of her last shifts at Newton's, and they're training this new girl, Katie, that's going to take over her job, but because business is so slow, they're like, hey Bella, we don't actually need you. So Edward and all the Cullens think that Bella is going to be at work, and this is her perfect opportunity to book it to fucking Jacob's house. 15 minutes, that's all I had. Alice couldn't have seen me doing this because I hadn't been planning it. A snap decision, that was the key. She sees Jacob. The smile I'd been waiting for stretched across his face like the sun breaking free of the clouds. Welcome back, Bella, he said, grinning, and the way he said the words made it sound like welcome home. And I really liked this part of the book because it just felt cozy, like it felt like New Moon. I love New Moon! I love New Moon. It's just such a good vibe, and it's interesting how, you know how Twilight, the movie, is very like blue, and then New Moon is very warm, even though it's more depressing. The books feel like that too. Like the books literally feel blue and then warm colored. Eclipse does kind of feel like that opening scene of the movie where it's just like pouring rain and that guy Riley is like screaming. It's kind of accurate. But also to go see this guy who's like your best friend and you're like, oh, thank God I got away from my vampire boyfriend. Like, I'm going home now. Like, that's gotta tell you something, right? And I keep saying she's not really in love with Jacob, and we will get into more of that soon. I don't think that she's in love with Jacob. I think that Jacob is so forceful with her that it has confused her brain. Like, the whole argument is that she has just been pretending, like, in her own mind, like trying to convince herself that she doesn't love Jacob, but she does. I think that she loves Jacob as a friend, and he is just so forceful with her that she questions that herself. But yet things like welcome home is very concerning, because if we're under the assumption that this is her best friend, clearly the life that you want for yourself that involves being a vampire and never seeing your family or your friends ever again is maybe not the right feeling. It's kind of like she's addicted to maybe the adrenaline of it, the adventure of it. Edward has kind of been more like hard to get because he's willing to leave her for her own good. And so like that's kind of, there's like this psychological aspect of why she wants to be with Edward, but her body, like her feeling, wants Jacob, whether that is romantic or platonic. Like, this is more of her like everyday life where she has Charlie and she can go visit her mom. She also explains to Jacob that Edward didn't leave her maliciously. Edward left me last fall because he didn't think I should be hanging out with vampires. He thought it would be healthier for me if he had left. So I also think this is very interesting because Jacob's main defense is like, this asshole left you. Like, he left you in despair and you were so depressed and I picked up the pieces, so fuck this guy. But this starts the bond between Jacob and Edward a little bit, where they can kind of begin to understand each other because they have the even playing field in the sense that their main goals are both to protect Bella and for her to be happy. They both want her and are willing to play dirty, but at the end of the day, they want the same thing. So Edward stops being this like terrible man who doesn't even want her that much, or like would hurt her on purpose, to like, he did this for her own good. And he can start to understand Edward a little bit better from there. Jacob also talks about that last day that they spent together in the push when she jumped off the cliff and it made Alice see her and came to visit. And that's when like the vampires came back, right? And I was talking about this, I think in the last vlog as well. That last moment that you don't know is the last moment is really what haunts you. Like, when was the last time I saw that friend that I never talked to again? What was the last conversation we had? Like, it's probably haunting him that because he wasn't with Bella to go cliff jumping, he's technically the reason why the vampires came back. But Edward did state that he was going to come back regardless. Jacob truly believes that if Edward hadn't come back, they would be together. I don't know, it's hard to say. I think it's false because she says it's always Edward, but kind of near the end of when, like right before Edward came back, she was like, Edward would want me to be happy, almost like as if Jacob is this replacement that could never really be Edward, but she needs somebody to make her happy. Like, she needs somebody to fill the hole in her chest. I'm putting my Uggs back on because my toes are getting cold. Maybe they would have started dating, but I don't think she ever would have truly been happy with him. And I don't think it would have lasted forever. And if Edward did come back, she would have broken up with Jacob regardless. It is really snowing now. Like, holy fucking shit. What is a valid reason for someone to love someone else? Apparently I'm doing it wrong. I think the best place to start would be to look within your own species. That usually works. Well, that just sucks, I snapped. I guess I'm stuck with Mike Newton after all. I love the Mike Newton slander, like in New Moon when Edward was like, oh, if you would hurt yourself at your birthday party and Mike Newton was there, he would have like took you to the hospital to get stitches, not tried to kill you. Like, fucking Mike Newton, bro. He's the funniest character in this book. I'm human, Jacob said. You're not as human as Mike. I continued ruthlessly. It's not the same thing. I didn't choose this. Do you think Edward did? Another very interesting thing, because Jacob and the wolves kind of act like these vampires because, you know, it's not like innate. It doesn't happen like biologically that they want to be vampires. They want to be this way. They choose to be this way. When very, very rarely is it the case. Like, Bella deciding to be a vampire is kind of odd. Like, that doesn't normally happen, you know? What I am was born in me, Jacob says. It's a part of who I am, who my family is, who we all are as a tribe. It's the reason we're still here. I am still human. He picked up my hand and pressed it to his fever-warm chest. Through his t-shirt, I could feel the steady beating of his heart under my palm. Jacob had become a part of me, and there was no changing that now. He's really trying to get her, like, really trying to get her. Quill has become a werewolf as well, but he is jazzed, totally thrilled. He likes it. Honestly, most of them do, Jacob admitted. Sam and I are the only ones that felt very bitter, which is interesting because they are the two in charge of the tribe, or the wolves, not the tribe. And then we get like the backstory on Sam and Leah. I say this every time, but I love the backstory. I love hearing about how this all came to be and like more about the characters' lives. And obviously we learn all of this or most of this in the movies as well, but I just love the focus on character dynamics that we get in the books and how everyone is very fleshed out. Like, everyone is really thought through as characters, and I think it's funny how the character dynamics are so much better than the actual plot in the books, but they really focused on plot in the movies. Sam had it so much harder than the rest of us because he was the first and he was alone and he didn't have anyone to tell him what was happening. Sam's grandfather died before he was born and his father had never been around. There was no one there to recognize the signs. The first time it happened, the first time he phased, he thought he'd gone insane. It took him 2 weeks to calm down enough to change back. Sam's mother and Leah Clearwater had the forest rangers searching for him. Leah? Yeah, Leah and Sam were high school sweethearts. They started dating when she was just a freshman. She was frantic when he disappeared. So now we're learning more about Leah and Sam being together. So remember, Sam is with the woman with the scar on her face. Sam happened to run into Quill's grandfather one afternoon. Sam shook his hand. Old Quill just about had a stroke because he knew that Sam had changed into a werewolf. Imagine if you're the only one in this fucking town changing into a werewolf. Billy and Harry had actually seen their grandfathers make the change. They knew he wouldn't be the only one affected by the Cullen's return, but no one else was old enough. So Jacob did say something earlier on about there not being like a set time or set age where you change, but I guess it's around this like 15, 16, 17 type age, and everyone else was younger at that point. Bella makes a joke, "Grow up, Jacob," and he says, "I wish I could." You can't grow up? You're not aging? Is that a joke? And I think this makes kind of no sense. Like, I do get it. I'll explain it more in a second, but it just feels like we're trying to put the vampires and the werewolves on like equal playing ground here. Like, first of all, it's crazy that the wolves are able to destroy vampires, but that's their main purpose. Second of all, they also don't age. Like, that's the whole thing with vampires, but I've never heard of a legend of werewolves not being able to age. Like, we're just doing this to like make them seem equal. "I will get older someday," he said. "When we get enough control to quit. When we stop phasing for a solid length of time, we age again. It's not easy." So technically they could live 1,000 years old, and when they're 1,000 years, they could decide, "I'm gonna settle down now." And then they'll be like 1,100 years when they die or whatever. Not quite, but you know what I mean. Then Jacob says, "I'm already older than you, physically at least. Do I look 16? We reached full growth inside of a few months when a werewolf gene gets triggered. It's one hell of a growth spurt. Physically, I'm probably 25 or something." And I talked about this in the last vlog for sure. But we're constantly trying to make the age differences okay. Like, it's bad enough that Edward is a fucking vampire and he's 100 years old, but Jacob being 16 and Bella being 18 is also a little bit weird. But we have to like argue it and make it fine by saying like, nope, he turned into a wolf, so physically he's like 25, but mentally he's a child, because the way he acts and the way he talks is very unattractive, and it's just not doing it for me. Like, we'll get to that. When Sam turned into a wolf, he couldn't tell Leah. We aren't supposed to tell anyone who doesn't have to know. And it wasn't really safe for him to be around her, but he cheated just like I did with you. They really loved each other. Her cousin, Emily Young, okay, Emily is the one that Sam is with. Her cousin, Emily Young, came down from the Maca reservation to visit her one weekend. Emily is Leah's cousin, second cousins. They're close though. They were like sisters when they were kids. Have you ever heard of imprinting? Fucking imprinting, let's fucking go. It's one of those bizarre things we have to deal with. It doesn't happen to everyone. In fact, it's the rare exception. Sam had heard all of the stories by then, the stories we used to think were legends. He'd heard of imprinting, but he'd never dreamed. Jacob's eyes strayed to the ocean. Sam did love Leah, but when he saw Emily, that didn't matter anymore. Sometimes we don't exactly know why we find our mates that way. Bella asks if it is love at first sight, but more powerful. You wanted to know what happened to Sam to make him hate vampires for changing him, to make him hate himself, and that's what happened. He broke Leah's heart. Sam hates vampires because it made him change and made him break Leah's heart. Okay. How did Emily deal with this if she was so close to Leah? She was real angry in the beginning, but it's hard to resist that level of commitment and adoration. And then Sam could tell her everything. There are no rules that can bind you when you find your other half. So the argument is, when you imprint on someone, it's hard to resist them because of how much they love you. I know it's supposed to be like magic woo-woo, like whatever, but technically the person that's being imprinted on isn't imprinting on the other person, so they could say no, in which it's just very creepy and weird. I don't know. Did it happen to you? Bella asks. This love at first sight thing? No, he answered briskly. Sam and Jared are the only ones. So Bella's trying to figure out if Jacob imprinted on her. I was relieved, and I tried to explain my reaction to myself. I decided I was just glad he didn't claim there was something mystical, wolfy connection between the two of us. Very much proving the point that Bella does not want to be with him, and she's kind of thinking like, I'm not going to be with him regardless of if he did imprint or not, but for him to be able to have the argument that I imprinted on you, I have to be with you, would just be like annoying to her. Like, it would just be another thing that she has to like prove wrong or whatever. He also finds out that Edward can't read her mind for the first time. Jacob's talking about how everyone can hear his thoughts when they're in their wolf forms, but isn't it like that for you all the time, having him in your head? He can't hear me, I explained. I'm the only one like that for him. We don't know why he can't. We also learn that Bella is a Virgo, which makes so much sense to me for some reason. I don't love Virgos. I feel like I love Virgo women a lot better than Virgo men, but I'm not discriminating. I think I already said this in another video, but the guy I'm talking to, the guy I'm having issues with, is a Virgo. And when we first talked about this, I was like, I don't get super along with Virgos. Like, I'm a Leo. I just feel like I butt heads with Virgos. Not everyone is into this like astrology shit, I get it. And then I was watching back that video and I was like, well, I don't like Virgos, but like, I'll let someone prove me wrong. And then I started talking to a Virgo. I haven't been proven wrong yet though, so. Spoiler alert, I was never proven wrong, and I am no longer in contact with this man that I had a crush on. Moving on. Okay, and then we get some information on Angela, which I really, really liked. I was talking about this as well. I feel like there was a true lack of female relationships in this book, and Bella, you know, is so boy crazy over Edward. And then even Jacob, and all her female friendships kind of fall to the side. Like, she has a lot of female enemies. But Angela is a sweetheart, and I wanted to see more from her, so we do get a scene of them hanging out, and I thought that was a really, really good touch. And I also love her relationship with Alice for that reason. There was never any pressure to fill a pause with meaningless chatter around Angela, which is really, really sweet. So Bella is helping her like fill out thank you cards or something. Bella, I've seen how Jacob Black looks at you. I'd bet the real problem is jealousy. It's not like that with Jacob. For you maybe, but for Jacob, literally everyone Bella knows is trying to prove to her that Jacob is in love with her, and she already knows. She already admitted it to Mike, and Jacob has admitted it to her a million times too, so I don't really know what her point of arguing this with people is. It was so nice to have some girl time, she says, before she says goodbye to Angela. She always has to like call attention to the girl time when she has girl time. It's like, oh, look over here, I had some girl time. She goes home. Edward is there and he's angry. Of course he was there. He stood against the wall across from me in the shadow beside the open window. His face was hard and his posture tense. He glared at me wordlessly. I cringed, waiting for the torrent, but it didn't come. He just continued to glare, possibly too angry to speak. So I'm still alive, I began. Is written, I just feel like people don't say that. Like, people say or I'm like trying to make it sound natural. I don't think anyone ever says that. Bella, he whispered, do you have any idea how close I came to crossing the line today? To breaking the treaty and coming after you? Do you know what that would have meant? You should have known I'd be safe, but I didn't. You can't expect me to let you. Oh, yes, you can, I interrupted him. That's exactly what I expect. This won't happen again. That's right, because you're not going to overreact next time. So she is standing on fucking business and telling him that he cannot control her every move anymore. I don't care who's a werewolf and who's a vampire. If Angela turns out to be a witch, she can join the party too. Are there witches in this universe? I need to know, because if there was a witch, it would be Angela. Angela is giving Bonnie Bennett to me. She's giving Bonnie Bennett. The next day, Alice picks her up from school. You're kidnapping me, aren't you? Till Saturday. So right after Bella is like enough is enough. We're not doing this anymore. You're being really creepily controlling and like, I don't like this. He pays Alice off to kidnap her. Oops. Where am I supposed to sleep anyway? Bella says. Can't you just keep me under surveillance at my house? You're sleeping in Edward's room. Now we're on to one of my personal favorite scenes out of this book. I love Rosalie. I love Rosalie with all my heart and soul. Her story is so heartbreaking, but it is the most memorable part of Eclipse for me personally. You know what I also saw on TikTok recently? I saw someone was saying that Emmett and Bella had crazy chemistry, and someone else commented back and was like, no, you're crazy. Like, you just think that the guy who played Emmett is hot because they have no chemistry. And someone commented back, no, like in the books they had really, really good chemistry. And then someone else commented back like it was just platonic, whatever. I actually agree. I think that Emma and Bella had really good chemistry. And yeah, maybe it's more platonic. Like, I don't think I would see them actually together. That's something that's not talked about. Emma is so funny, makes fun of Bella. And you know what? It's kind of giving Twilight a little bit, where the beginning of Edward and Bella's relationship was very jokey. They joked around with each other. He made fun of her. And that's the vibe that Emmett continues out like throughout. Like, anytime Bella falls and hurts herself, like Emmett finds this so funny. Like, any human thing that Bella does, like Emmett finds that so funny. And I don't really know why the humor in the relationship between Bella and Edward was dropped so suddenly, because it's just like far too serious now. And like the main redeeming quality of their relationship in Twilight for me was like how funny both of them were. My diet is consisting of meat, vegetables, and fruit right now. This is not for the weak of heart. It's for a purpose though. After I do this for 3 weeks, I can start testing out foods to see what my insensitivities are. Like, what's breaking me out, it's causing me gut issues. The hardest thing has been cutting out coffee. Literally a week and a half without any coffee, not even decaf. It's the first thing I'm gonna test. I love coffee so much. If I can't have caffeine anymore, I will be drinking decaf, even though there's like a little bit of caffeine in there. But I just love the taste, the smell, the vibe of coffee. Like, I have not been productive or excited about life since I stopped having coffee. Rosalie comes into Edward's room while Edward's gone. Bella's asleep, not on the bed, but on the couch, because she's like trying to prove some point. She says, I'm sure I've hurt your feelings enough in the past, and I don't want to do that again. Bella says, don't worry about it, Rosalie. My feelings are great. What is it? My feelings are great. What? Okay. I'm going to try to tell you why I think you should stay human, why I would stay human if I were you. So Rosalie, despite how it felt, does not hate Bella. In Twilight especially, she seems like she hates this bitch's guts. And I think it's so interesting to see that she doesn't actually hate Bella, and she just kind of fears for her future. And the fact that Bella hears this story and like it does not change her mind at all is actually kind of annoying a little bit. But I feel like in the movies, they do kind of make it seem like Rosalie really hates Bella. I lived in a different world than you do, Bella. My human world was a much simpler place. It was 1933. I was 18 and I was beautiful. My life was perfect. My parents were thoroughly middle class. My father had a stable job in a bank, something I realize now that he was smug about. I took it all for granted then. In my home, it was as if the Great Depression was only troublesome rumor. I think it's so, like, I love how optimistic she was about her life, because she is like kind of miserable as a vampire, but seeing this, it's like, no, I had a really good life. Like, we did really well. It was the Great Depression, but like we were happy. But I also do feel like she kind of romanticizes it in hindsight, because she can't have a family. She can't grow old with her husband. She really romanticizes like the way life was when, like, was it actually that good? Who knows? It was my mother's job to keep our house and myself and my 2 younger brothers in spotless order. It was clear that I was both her first priority and her favorite. I didn't fully understand at the time, but I was always vaguely aware that my parents weren't satisfied with what they had, even if it was so much more than most. They wanted more. My beauty was like a gift to them. They saw so much more potential in it than I did. Rosalie is described by Bella in all of these books as being like the most beautiful Cullen. Like, they're all gorgeous, but Rosalie is like insanely beautiful, and that's why she finds it hard to believe that Edward wasn't into Rosalie when Rosalie was into him. So her beauty is really used like as a commodity, at least in her human life. They weren't satisfied, but I was. I was thrilled to be me, to be Rosalie Hale. Pleased that men's eyes watched me everywhere I went from the year I turned 12. Kind of gross, actually. Kind of gross. I did note that this felt like a bit cliche. Like, this doesn't feel like a real person. Like, this feels like, oh, if it was the 30s, what would the perfect little life for a little 12-year-old girl be like? That is what was written here. Like, I don't really think Stephenie Meyer put too much like creativity into it, or like too much thought into it in general. I wanted a big house with elegant furnishings that someone else would clean, and a modern kitchen that someone else would cook in. And I didn't see any reason why I wouldn't get these things. There were a few things I wanted that were the most meaningful. One thing in particular, my very closest friend was named Vera. She married young, just 17. She married a man my parents would never have considered for me, a carpenter. A year later, she had a son, a beautiful little boy with dimples and curly black hair. It was the first time I'd ever felt truly jealous of anyone else in my entire life. I wanted my own house and a husband who would kiss me when I got home from work. Love that line, it's from the movie as well. Royce was handsome too. He had lighter hair than I did and pale blue eyes. I was a few streets from my house when I heard them, a cluster of men under a broken street lamp. "Rose," he yelled, and the others laughed stupidly. It was Royce and some of his friends. "Isn't she lovelier than all your Georgia peaches?" "It's hard to tell," John drawled slowly. "She's all covered up." Suddenly, Royce ripped my jacket from my shoulders. It was a gift from him. "Show him what you look like, Rose." He laughed again, and then he tore my hat out of my hair. They seemed to enjoy that, the sound of my pain. They left me in the street, still laughing as they stumbled away. They thought I was dead. They were teasing Royce that he would have to find a new bride. He laughed and said he'd have to learn some patience first. I waited in the road to die. Carlisle found me then. He smelled the blood and come to investigate. I remember being vaguely irritated as he worked over me trying to save my life. I never liked Dr. Cullen or his wife and her brother, as Edward pretended to be then. Carlisle sat with me. He held my hand and said he was so sorry, promising that it would end. He apologized each time I screamed. Edward wasn't happy. I remember hearing them discuss me. "What were you thinking, Carlisle?" Edward said. "Rosalie Hale." It's so interesting that Edward had always kind of hated Rosalie and like still doesn't really like her. I remember when I first read this when I was young, and I remember watching this part of the movie for the first time too, and just thinking like, that is so unbelievable that her fiance would do that to her. Because in my head, like, these brutal types of attacks like would only happen like, you know, like a group of strangers or something would do that to you. And I remember thinking like, what was the point of him courting her, buying her expensive clothes, proposing to her and planning this marriage and this life with her, if he's just going to strip her down, beat her outside in front of all of his friends? It's sickening because it like truly isn't logical. Like, and that kind of shit does actually happen in real life. I also think that like this type of brutal is what Stephenie Meyers thinks of when she thinks of. So like this was, you know, terrible, and she wrote this knowing that it was terrible. But it kind of, when I read it, it reminds me of that first kiss that we will talk about later because we're not there yet. The first kiss that Jacob and Bella have. And so many people want to like not admit that it was, but it truly was a. And I don't think that, I saw this, there's this TikToker, I'll put her name here. She talks about the books and like the whole Twilight universe. She's like literally like the encyclopedia for it. She made a video talking about it, how she doesn't think that Stephenie Meyer thought that she wrote when she wrote the kiss scene between Jacob and Bella. And I totally agree with that. I don't think she thought it was, I thought she was writing like this passionate scene, and like Bella feels violated because she's lying to herself about her feelings for Jacob. When I'll read the whole thing to you when we get there. Like, it truly is sickening and violating, and like not as violent as this is. Then she says, after she turned into a vampire, "Shallow as I was, I felt better when I saw my reflection in the mirror for the first time. Despite the eyes, I was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen." I love her confidence. Like, she knows she's fucking beautiful, and she is like fucking slay girl. Like, Yes, exactly. She knows that she's beautiful and she sees her beauty as like a power to her, but she would give that up to simply have a simple family. You know, my record is almost as clean as Carlisle, she told me. Better than Esme, 1,000 times better than Edward. I'd never tasted human blood, she announced proudly. You just wouldn't expect that from her because she's so like strong woman coded, like so kind of angry and angsty, and like you would think that she would not give a fuck about anything or anyone. And the fact that she's never tasted human blood, like I love that. I love that. I did 5 humans, she told me, if you can really call them human. But I was very careful not to spill their blood. I knew I wouldn't be able to resist that, and I didn't want any part of them in me, you see. Also very interesting, she, you know, killed these humans, and that would have been like, she killed these terrible, terrible men that assaulted her. And you think that would have been, okay, I can drink these bitches' bloods because they suck, kind of like Edward, right? When he was like going on a killing spree of like all these bad people and he would suck their blood. But she doesn't even want their blood inside of her because that would be a violation in itself. Like, isn't that so fascinating? I saved Royce for last. I hoped he would hear his friends' deaths and understand. Know that I was coming for him. I hoped the fear would make the end worse for him. I think it worked. I was over theatrical. It was kind of childish, really. I wore a wedding dress I'd stolen for the occasion. I'm surprised Edward didn't tell you more about it. He doesn't like to tell other people's stories. He feels like he's betraying confidences because he hears so much more than the parts they mean for him to hear. I haven't been fair to you either, Bella. Did he tell you why, or was that too confidential? He said it was because I was human. He said it was harder for you to have someone on the outside who knew. You see, at first I was mostly jealous because he wanted you and not me. But you love Emmett. I don't want Edward that way, Bella. I never did. I love him as a brother, but he's irritated me from the first moment I heard him speak. You have to understand, though. I was so used to people wanting me, and Edward wasn't the least bit interested. It frustrated me, even offended me, but he never wanted anyone, so it didn't bother me long. Even when we first met Tanya's clan in Denali, all those females, Edward never showed the slightest preference, and then he met you. So it's not that she really had feelings for Edward, they kind of hate each other. She was just annoyed that Edward didn't want her because men usually want her, and I think that's queen behavior. But you still don't like me, I whispered. Her smile faded. I'm sorry about that. Like, I love her. Like, she doesn't like Bella, and it's not because she hates Bella, it's because she doesn't like what Bella stands for, and that is queen behavior. She doesn't fucking waver. She doesn't vote that Bella should become a vampire. She tries to convince her not to be one, and she's not mean about it. She just doesn't like her. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. Don't you see, Bella? You have everything. You have a whole life ahead of you, everything I want, and you're going to just throw it away? Can't you see that I'd trade everything I have to be you? You have the choice I didn't have, and you're choosing wrong. I also do want to mention, though, that, you know, Stephanie Meyer is coming from a very Mormon, traditional point of view, and it's like, is the only argument we have for why Bella shouldn't be a vampire because she should have babies and grow old with her husband? Like, I just don't like, it's so funny that I never noticed all the traditional things that seep through, and like the whole marriage thing where like Edward will only change her if she marries him. Like, it's just like, what? Like, this is a vampire story, and we're so caught up in these like traditional human values. So then the next day Bella goes to school, and Jacob randomly shows up on his motorcycle. God, do you guys remember that parody song where it's like, oh, it was a Baby by Justin Bieber parody, and it was like, Bella, 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 oh, please hop onto my bike, cause that dude is 109. And I was like, me and my bestie used to laugh so hard at all those fucking Twilight parodies. So Mike is with Bella at school when Jacob pulls up. He's like, Bella, come on, let's go. She sees Alice, but obviously Alice can't do anything about it because they're in public. And then Jacob says, I remembered what you said about the psychic leech not being able to predict what I'm going to do. I'm glad you didn't think of this. What do you want to do today? Anything. I laughed back. It felt great to be free. And again, this is rubbing me the wrong way. Like, you are free because you're running away from Alice and Edward. This life with Edward is so restricting that, like, if you are able to hang out with your friend Jacob, it's like the most exciting, like freedom feeling thing. Like she clearly feels a lot better when she's with Jacob, because this life that she has with Edward is just not it. Hey guys, today is a big day, a huge day, and you want to know why? First cup of coffee in 3 weeks. Can you tell I'm in a good mood? Yeah, I know I talked about like the elimination diet a little bit in this video. I hope 3 weeks, only meat, only vegetables, and only fruits. No caffeine, no alcohol, nothing good, nothing fun. And we are testing out caffeine to see if it breaks me out and causes me stomach problems. I really hope not, because I've missed you. Okay, also look at my Valentine's Day flowers, so cute. This is a I thrifted this a couple years ago, but my best friend got me these Valentine's Day flowers. I will say I had a couple of offers for Valentine's Day, and I declined them all. So, single by choice. There was this guy I was seeing in the summer, and he was like 10 years older than me. He was a little crazy, so it was like fun for a while, but he like kept popping up multiple times, and finally I was just like, no. And I kept seeing like, I'm just oversharing at this point, but he just like has more conservative views than me, and I don't know how to share this, but he didn't really know what it meant to be bisexual and genuinely thought it meant wanting to have threesomes with men and women. So not really like my type of man, but thanks for flattering me. And then I swear to God, everyone like from my past popped up all at once, and I managed to like have a fight with every single one of them. So am I the problem? Maybe, but also like I used to be the type of person that would just like be like, oh my God, they want to come back, they love me, and like do it for the plot and just like let it happen. No, we're not doing this anymore. You can't just like pop up and be like, oh, I don't need to apologize to her because enough time has passed. And no, I'm my own Valentine, and my bestie was my fucking Valentine, so fuck you. Fuck you. Okay, should we talk about some Eclipse? I would love to like vlog my life, but the problem is that like no one cares. So I'm just like sneaking little snippets of my life and my thoughts and feelings and opinions and like everything like that into these little reading vlogs, and see if anyone cares. Bella and Jacob are hanging out, okay? Jacob tells her that Quill imprinted, and that's now 3 werewolves that imprinted on someone. I was kind of like, okay, he definitely wants to imprint on her, but is this something that can happen over time, or is it like you have to see them for the first time and you will imprint then? Which is very interesting, because it seems like that's the case. You set eyes on someone for the first time and then you imprint on them, because it was like the first time Sam saw Emily, Leah's cousin, the first time Jacob sees Raspberry, Rapunzel, he imprints on her. Is it possible that he couldn't imprint on Bella because he knew her before he became a wolf? Anyway, I think he knows that he's not going to imprint on Bella because he didn't imprint on Bella, but he wishes that it would happen. So Emily had her 2 nieces down for a visit, and Quill met Claire and imprinted on Claire. But Claire is 2 years old. Claire is 2 years old. So now we know that Jacob isn't the only weirdo that imprints on a literal baby, because this happened actually before him. So by the time this happens to Ronaldo, it's already like in his head, it's not that weird because other people have done it. You know, there's nothing romantic about it at all. Not for Quill, not now. It's not like love at first sight, really. It's more like gravity moves. When you see her, suddenly it's not the earth holding you there anymore, she does. And nothing matters more than her. And you would do anything for her, be anything for her. You become whatever she needs you to be, whether that's a protector or a lover or a friend or a brother. And obviously Jacob knows this firsthand because he can hear the thoughts of Quill and everyone else who has imprinted on someone. Quill will be the best, kindest big brother any kid ever had. Like, that's just fucking weird though. So you're supposed to be like soulmates, but because it's a fucking 2-year-old, no, I'm just gonna be her brother. And then when she's old enough, I'll stop being her brother and I'll start being her boyfriend. Fuck off. That's actually fucking crazy. And you cannot tell me that this is not grooming. It's literally grooming. Like, the whole thing is like, oh, it's hard to resist that kind of like love and devotion. And that's why the people who've been imprinted on just end up with them. But technically it's a choice. Like, they're not imprinting on the wolf back, so they don't have to be with them. But because it's just like so overpowering, does that not sound a little fucking off to you? Because it sounds a little off to me. And then when she's older and needs a friend, he'll be more understanding, trustworthy, and reliable than anyone else she knows. And then when she's grown up, they'll be as happy as Emily and Sam. Doesn't Claire get a choice here? Of course. But why wouldn't she choose him in the end? He'll be her perfect match, like he was designed for her alone. I just don't like it. Is that enough? I just don't like it. I think that's enough. When do you think it'll happen for you? Bella asks Jacob. His answer was flat and immediate. Never. But I'll never see anyone else, Bella. I only see you. Even when I close my eyes and try to see something else. Ask Quill or Embry, it drives them all crazy. So he does not want to imprint on anyone because he wants to be with Bella. So then they start talking about the past, obviously, because Jacob is obsessed with like what could have been if they had continued hanging out and stuff. It feels like it was years ago, another era, a happier one. That's what Jacob says. I couldn't agree with him. This was my happy era now. But I was surprised to realize how many things I missed from my own personal dark ages. Okay, I think this is so relatable. First of all, it's interesting for her to say, this is my happy era now. Like, her being with Edward, being back together with Edward, is her happy place, and she doesn't really want the old era back, right? The way that Jacob wants it back. But every time she sees Jacob, every time she goes back to La Push, she's like, this is my home. This is where I belong. Like, this feels safe. And it's like, okay, so you don't miss it though? Like you don't seem like you're in your happy era if every time you go to La Push, you're like, home sweet home. Like, what's going on? But the line where it says, I was surprised to realize how many things I missed from my own personal dark ages is very relatable. I even find myself missing, like, this time last year, I was like severely depressed, but I was working for something. I was working on myself. I was working on my mental health. I was getting over somebody, and that gave me purpose in life. And I often miss that sense of like perseverance, like that sense of purpose. Not that I don't have purpose now, but it's just different. Like, I'm just chilling. I'm just living my life, and I'm like fairly happy, right? I don't know, like there was just so much emotion. Like, my emotions were so heightened, and it makes me remember it. I guess like all the good times were more intensely good because of like what I was going through, that it makes me miss it, if that makes sense. I cut out some unnecessary information about the treaty, but Jacob is pissed that Bella wants to become a vampire. You won't be Bella anymore. My friend won't exist. There'll be no one to forgive. And Bella's like, okay then, like I guess this is goodbye. And Jake's like, why? We still have a few years together. And she's like, weeks, not years. And Jacob starts freaking the fuck out and almost turns into a wolf. And he says, you'd be better off dead. These two cannot stop fighting. They fight more than Bella and Edward. Like, they fight so fucking much. She takes off on the bike and walks it into the Cullen's garage. Edward is being like very intimate with her all of a sudden. I stopped breathing. This wasn't the kind of thing he usually allowed. Despite his cold hands, I felt suddenly warm. The bed, he asked again. I think it's nice. It's unnecessary, Bella says. And so Bella's like thinking more deeply about this. She's like, okay, maybe there's more significance to this bed than like I originally thought. And she is kind of like, okay, like, are we gonna do it? And he's like, don't be ridiculous. He also agrees that he's not gonna have Alice hold her hostage anymore. And so Bella's starting to feel guilty for her like defiance, which is just like fucking weird, because you shouldn't have had to like go behind his back in the first place. Don't you want to know what I did? I'm always interested in everything you do, but you don't have to tell me unless you want to. So Edward has like a full change on like, all of a sudden he's not controlling, he's not going to tell her what to do, and he's very, very smart to do it this way, and we'll talk about why later. So then Bella starts asking Edward about Denali, because Rosalie had mentioned that there was this woman vampire that was interested in Edward, and Bella is a little bit jealous over this. Edward gets a little bit embarrassed by this. Tanya expressed a little interest. I let her know in a very courteous, gentlemanly fashion that I did not return that interest. End of story. You're quite adorable when you're jealous. It's surprisingly enjoyable. And you know what? I noted that this was very, very cute because so many of their conversations were just like toxic before, and this was an example of healthy communication. Like, he is not coming on too strong anymore. He is like coming to an understanding of what she needs from him and is compromising to let her see her friend. She brings up what she's feeling weird about instead of just bottling it all up. And a little bit of healthy jealousy is kind of hot. Like, okay, like, yeah, I agree. Then he says, "Sleep, my Bella, dream happy dreams. You were the only one who has ever touched my heart. It will always be yours. Sleep, my only love." One can dream. One can dream. And you know what? The concept of like being the only love of someone's life is like so romantic, but I don't think I would actually want that. Like, it seems like, oh my god, like it's only me, it's only ever been me. But this bitch has no experience in relationships. He has no idea what the fuck he's doing, and I don't want to be like, I don't want to like teach anyone anymore. Like, I want you to have experience with love and relationships, especially with communication and stuff. I found that all the people I've been with have been terrible at communicating, and some of them have had previous relationships, so I can't believe how terrible at communicating they actually were. It'll be easier to build a foundation when you're not dealing with someone's like fuck ups over like minor things all the time, you know what I mean? Hey, I'm back. I feel like the angle could be better, but I just like need an in bed moment right now, so we're gonna do this. And I want to see how much we can talk about in the time I have right now. I have like an hour. I feel so discombobulated lately because I'm cat sitting for the next 2 weeks, so it's a lot of like back and forth to that house. I'm like trying to juggle my work, trying to juggle my hobbies, my life, like video making and everything. Like, there's just a lot going on. So after this whole fight that Jacob and Bella has, Jacob calls Bella while she's out of the house and leaves a note. Charlie writes this down. He says he didn't mean it and that he's sorry. He wants you to call him, be nice, and give him a break. He sounded upset. And then Bella says, "I'm not gonna call Jacob because of everything he just said to her." Obviously, Charlie doesn't know that, but like, that's not very attractive behavior, Bella. Forgiveness is divine. Stephanie, girl. Okay, this is actually important. She goes upstairs, her pillow is gone, and a lot of her clothes are gone that she like knew that she put in the hamper. They're no longer there, which is very suspicious behavior. Edward shows up and he's like, "I can sense it. I can smell that someone else has been here, like another vampire. And nobody hurt Charlie, so very clearly whoever was there is out to get Bella." But for some reason, Alice was unable to see that any of this was happening, so she had no visions about it. Bella ends up forgiving Jacob, and Jacob tells her to come back down to La Push. Edward decides that he wants to talk to Jacob on the phone, and he tells Jacob that somebody was there for Bella and asks if the pack has come across anything new. So I really like this kind of, not friendship between Jacob and Edward, but alliance, where they both have a goal to solve the vampire problem that's happening. Like, they want to find, first of all, Victoria, and then second of all, whoever is in Bella's house, and they want to protect Bella. So it's kind of nice that they're at least like not fighting anymore. Edward explains that they've rearranged some boundaries so that they can catch anyone who gets too near Forks, and the wolves and the vampires are both going to be like taking turns watching Bella's house. Jacob asks Bella to go to the bonfire with him and like the rest of his crew. I think that clip just got deleted for some reason. You know, the famous bonfire where she hears the story of the third wife. "I'll ask," I said doubtfully. "He made a noise in the back of his throat. Is he your warden now too? You know, I saw this story on the news last week about controlling abusive teenage relationships and..." Okay, I cut him off. And I know this is really framed as a joke, but like, how on the nose is that? The Cullen family have deduced that not only was this person in Bella's room trying to gather her scent, it is the work of a newborn vampire, and probably not just one. Somebody is creating the newborn vampires who are now like rampant all over the city of Seattle, and no one explained to them about the Volturi or the rules or like how to stay low. Perhaps if we talk to these young ones, explain the rules, it can be resolved peacefully. Jasper is sort of an expert on young vampires. And then, okay, this is a really weird line that I just have to mention. Bella does ask Edward literal fucking permission to go to La Push for the bonfire. And he says, "You don't have to ask my permission, Bella. I'm not your father." Thank heaven for that. What, thank heaven for that because she's a difficult child? Or thank heaven for that because then I wouldn't be able to be in love with you? Or what? What? Edward also buys himself a bike because he thought, since Bella brought the bike from La Push to Edward's house when she was mad at Jacob, he was like, "Oh, I don't know if you're ever going to see Jacob again, so I'm going to buy a bike so that we can do this together." And I thought this part was actually really awkward because she acts really awkward about it. And then he ends up saying, "This is something you do with Jacob. I see that now." I don't know. I don't think it's like, man, if you want a bike, get yourself a bike. I don't know, but it was just weird. So Jared and Kim are there. So Jared is one of the wolves and Kim is the girl that he imprinted on. The way he stared at her, like a mother looking into the face of her newborn child. Can we stop? Like, I get what you're saying here, like the devotion, the love, like the unconditional love, like whatever it is, but we need to stop comparing like family relationships to romantic love situations. "This is technically a council meeting," Jacob says. "It's Quill's first time, and he hasn't heard the stories yet. The first story is the story of the spirit warriors. The first spirit chief in our history used the magic to defend our land. He and all his warriors left the ship, not their bodies, but their spirits. The women watched over the bodies and the waves, and the men took their spirits back to the harbor. They would blow fierce winds into enemy camps. Then came the great last spirit, Chief Taha Aki. When he returned, his body was already gone." So they were able to leave their bodies and exist in the spirit world. Taha Aki, his body was stolen by somebody else who took over as chief and took on his persona. I do wonder with this book though, like Stephenie Meyer, I think the legends that she's included in here are interesting, but is it morally okay to make up legends about a tribe that I'm pretty sure does exist? I should probably look this up. But making up like these fake stories just feels really weird. Like you could have just made up a group that weren't actually like Native Americans. Okay, so I did look it up and basically everything that I said is true. This is a real Native American tribe in the Washington area, but the stories that Stephenie Meyer writes are completely made up. So is this ethical? I'm sure there's 1,000,001 articles that I could read about it, and maybe that's a topic that I will discuss further in the future. This video is already way too long though. And then Taha Aki had the idea that changed us all. He asked the great wolf to make room for him, to share. The wolf complied. He entered the wolf's body with relief and gratitude. It was not his human body, but it was better than the void of the spirit world. Taha Aki's anger was the anger of a man. We're too vast for the wolf's body, too human. The wolf shuddered, and before the eyes of the shocked warriors, he transformed into a man. Yet he had the strength of the wolf in his new body. The wolves were all different because they were spirit wolves and reflected the man they were inside. Eventually, they meet vampires. The creatures were as hard as stone and as cold as ice. They found that only their teeth could damage it. They would kill the vampires and set fire to the remains. They called it the Cold One, the Bloodsucker, and lived in fear that it was not alone. During one of these attacks, there was the third wife who grabbed a knife and used it to distract the vampire so that the others could kill the vampire. So she sacrificed herself. There were never more than 3 wolves at a time, and it was enough. And that kind of insinuates that like as problems arose with the Cold Ones in the future, the tribes got bigger and bigger. So I'm wondering why vampire tribes haven't, they're not called tribes, but you know, like, well, like a coven or something, they haven't evolved to be bigger over time to protect from the werewolves, because it's very clear that it's unusual for vampires to be in a group, and normally like the group will only be 2 or 3 people big. Only in a great while, if a cold one was near, would the wolves return. So then eventually a bigger coven came, and this was the Cullen family. The strange yellow eyes gave some proof to Carlisle's claim that they were not the same as the other blood drinkers. The wolves were outnumbered. There were no need for the cold ones to offer a treaty when they would have won the fight. And so the treaty emerged. I'm in my Pilates outfit because I'm going to Pilates later tonight, and I'm not gonna have time to like change. Oh, I'm so discombobulated. And I need like a trim. Look at the fucking ends of my hair. Every time I braid it, I'm like, we need a trim. But like, who has time for anything? All right, so later on, Bella is kind of pissed because Edward admits that he doesn't want her to be a vampire. I know that you believe I have a soul, but I'm not entirely convinced on that point. And to risk yours, for me to allow this, to let you become what I am just so that I'll never have to lose you, that is the most selfish act I can imagine. I want it more than anything for myself. But for you, I want so much more. Giving in feels criminal. It's the most selfish thing I'll ever do, even if I live forever. So it's not that you're afraid you won't like me as much when I'm different, when I'm not soft and warm and I don't smell the same. Do you really want to keep me no matter how I turned out? You'll always be my Bella. You'll just be a little more durable. I really, really love that line. But then he's like, you don't want to be my wife? She says the whole marriage thing is just like so embarrassing. I'm not that girl, Edward, the one who gets married right out of high school, like some small town hick who got knocked up by her boyfriend. I'm just really trying to put myself in Stephenie Meyer's shoes here, because it's just so traditional. Like, it almost feels like she thought it was edgy that Bella wouldn't want marriage. Like, I'm writing this edgy girl who's like a modern girl and like doesn't want to get married out of high school. Like, and then he says, it's not that you were just more eager for immortality than just for me. And she says, no, there's no point in forever without you. I wouldn't want one day without you. But I'm pretty sure she did admit in the past that she also was really excited to be a vampire and like felt destined that this was like her trajectory of life. So I'm not really sure what that's about. And Edward tries to explain to her like why this traditional view of life is like his goal. I wasn't looking for love. I was far too eager to be a soldier for that. I thought of nothing but the idealized glory of war that they were selling. I was that boy who would have, as soon as I discovered that you were what I was looking for, gotten down on one knee and endeavored to secure your hand. I would have wanted you for an eternity, even when the word didn't quite have the same connotation. And next, we're gonna get into Jasper's backstory. Obviously, I love the backstories. I've said that 3 million times, but it's just so fascinating to get more information on these characters and like why they are the way they are. He says, I didn't quite have the same upbringing as my adopted siblings. My beginning was something else entirely. It's a difficult world in the South. The immortals there come out only at night. They spend the day plotting their next move or anticipating their enemies, and there is constant war for centuries. You see, it occurred to someone once that if he were the only vampire in, let's say, Mexico City, well then, he could feed every night, twice, 3 times, and no one would ever notice. He plotted ways to get rid of the competition. Benito had created an army of newborn vampires. He was the first one to think of it, and in the beginning he was unstoppable. Though the newborns are dangerous, they are still possible to defeat if you know what you're doing. They're incredibly powerful physically for the first year or so. They can crush an older vampire with ease, but they are slaves to their instincts and thus predictable. Usually they have no skill in fighting, only muscle and ferocity, and in this case, overwhelming numbers. The Volturi would take out any of these wars that were causing like havoc in the world, but would let the smaller, careful ones continue on. When I was human, I lived in Houston, Texas. I was almost 17 years old when I joined the Confederate Army in 1861. I lied to the recruiters and told them I was 20. So he literally went in there when he was 17. My military career was short-lived but promising. People always liked me, listened to what I had to say. My father said I had charisma. Of course, I know now it was something more. So this is like whatever powers you take into your afterlife are like these skills that you have when you're human. So Alice. She was put in a mental hospital because she had these visions, and so that is what her power is as a vampire. And he had like this natural charisma that got people to really like him and trust him, and so he can control people's emotions as a vampire, which is very, very cool. So I'm editing this, and this just got me thinking, because I'm like, okay, so if Jasper was very charismatic and now he can control people's emotions, and Alice had visions and now she can see the future, what about Edward? And I remember the backstory of Edward and his mom being in the hospital together, sick, and his mom saying to Carlisle, like, I need you to do everything in your power to save him. She somehow knew that he was a vampire, but I was like, how the fuck would she know that? What if her and Edward had some sort of like, you know, like, oh, you're a mind reader. Like, not literally a mind reader, but just like some extra perceptions into like people's brains and what they're thinking, like maybe really good intuition or something. I'm not really sure, but kind of similar to the way that we learn in Midnight Sun that Charlie has like something wrong with his brain where it's really hard to see his thoughts, like his thoughts are muffled, and that leads into Bella having this wall up around her thoughts. Maybe his mom had this type of power and that's why he also has it. And they just had like this really good sixth sense in their human bodies. I don't know if this has been talked about or not. Let me know if this is a thing. I might just be like stating the obvious. I was placed in charge of evacuating the women and children from the city when the Union's mortar boats reached the harbor. Just a mile outside the city, I found 3 women on foot. I assumed they were stragglers and dismounted at once to offer them my aid, but when I could see their faces in dim light of the moon, I was stunned to silence. They were without question the 3 most beautiful women I had ever seen. They had such pale skin. Even the little black-haired girl, whose features were clearly Mexican, was porcelain in the moonlight. Is Stephenie Meyer claiming that your skin color changes when you become a vampire, is my question. He's speechless, the tallest girl said in a lovely, delicate voice. It was like wind chimes. I love that description, wind chimes. He looks right. Young, strong, an officer.
I hope you survive. You may be of great use to me.
My judgment overruled my instincts, he says. I had not been taught to fear women, but to protect them. Let's hunt, Nettie agreed enthusiastically, reaching for the tall girl's hand. They wheeled, they were so graceful, and sprinted toward the city. They seemed to take flight. They were so fast, their white dresses blew out behind them like wings. I blinked in amazement, and they were gone. So Maria stays with him. What is your name, soldier? Major Jasper Whitlock, ma'am. At this point, he's thinking that she's something like a ghost. And then a few days later, he was changed into a vampire. Their names were Maria, Nettie, and Lucy. All 3 were survivors of recently lost battles. Theirs is a partnership of convenience. Maria wanted revenge and she wanted her territories back. They were putting together an army and going about it more carefully than was usual. She taught us to fight and she taught us to be invisible to the humans. When we did well, we were rewarded. Maria was a good judge of character. She decided to put me in charge of the others, as if I were being promoted. Maria grew quite fond of me. She began to depend on me, and in some ways I worshipped the ground she walked on. I had no idea that any other life was possible. Maria told us that this was the way things were, and we believed. Success made Maria greedy. It wasn't long before she began to eye other cities. Nettie and Lucy turned on Maria eventually. I was sick of it all for a very long time before anything changed. Decades later, I developed a friendship with a newborn who'd remained useful and survived his first 3 years against the odds. His name was Peter. Peter was supposed to help me dispose of the rest of them. This time, he tried to convince me that a few had potential, but Maria had instructed that we get rid of them all. I told him no. The newborn I'd summoned was a female, just past her year mark. Her name was Charlotte. His feelings changed when she came into view. They gave him away. He yelled for her to run, and he bolted after her. I could have pursued them, but I didn't. I felt adverse to destroying him. Maria was irritated with me for that. 5 years later, Peter snuck back in for me. Maria was mystified by my ever-deteriorating frame of mind. She never felt a moment's depression. I was preparing myself to destroy my only ally, the core of my existence, when Peter returned. Peter told me about his new life with Charlotte, told me about the options I had never dreamed of. In 5 years, they'd never had a fight, though they'd met many others in the north. Others who could coexist without constant mayhem. We're like halfway through, and it's getting juicy, and I cannot wait to talk to you guys about the tent scene. This is literally by no means groundbreaking information. I'm sure everyone's gonna be like, girl, this is the first time you're hearing about this because we've been known this. Apparently there's like a theory going around that the reason Jacob couldn't imprint on Bella is because of her like shield power that she has, and I think that makes so much sense. Like, is that not canon to the series? Because I feel like that is a wonderful, amazing explanation, and would make so much sense because Jacob is so in love with Bella, like so obsessed with her, and he wants nothing more than to imprint on her. That's why he doesn't want to imprint on anyone else. We were just talking about this. As you can tell, I'm on like Twilight TikTok. I'm also on Hunger Games TikTok. I can't wait to read the Hunger Games series and for the new book that's coming out. I'm so fucking excited. So I hope you guys will be into watching the Hunger Games videos. Can we also talk about how good my skin is doing? I'm really happy. So the next best thing is imprinting on her fucking daughter, Raspberry Cullen. So I feel like that just makes so much sense, like why he ends up imprinting on Renesmee, because it's so like, you imprinted on a baby, you imprinted on Bella's baby, like the woman you've been in love with for years. It's just like icky, and obviously it's icky regardless, but it just makes so much sense if like he was meant to imprint on her but couldn't, so he imprinted on her baby. I like that theory. I'm into it. So this new way of life that Jasper was taught really helped him because he felt a lot of pain when he was hunting humans. He says that he could feel everything his prey was feeling, so he lived those emotions as he killed them. So going to like a more animal-based diet was helpful for him, but I wonder if he can do the same for animals, because I'm pretty sure he can calm the werewolves. So I wonder, like, just actual animals that aren't werewolves, if he can feel their emotions as he kills them too. I'm sure it's like less intense than that of a human regardless. I was in Philadelphia. There was a storm and I was out during the day, something I was not completely comfortable with yet. I knew standing in the rain would attract attention, so I ducked into a little half-empty diner. She was there, expecting me. Naturally, for the first time in almost a century, I felt hope. So Alice knew that he was coming and they met for the first time. Alice told me what she'd seen of Carlisle and his family. So this is before Alice joined the family. Alice also starts describing like why she can't get a good view on the newborn army situation. It's as if someone's changing their mind, moving from one course of action to another so quickly that I can't get a good view. Someone knows that you can't see anything, Edward says to Alice, unless a decision is made. Someone who is hiding from us, playing with the holes in your vision, is in charge of this. Irina and their group doesn't want to help because she had a very strong liking to Laurent, and they obviously killed Laurent, like the wolves killed Laurent, so she doesn't want anything to do with the wolves. And I don't think I really noticed that in the movie for some reason. I always wondered like what her issue was, like when she does end up trying to help them in Breaking Dawn. I was like, what is her problem with them? I thought maybe they just hated the wolves, but I get it now. So basically they're like, we could definitely win against these newborns regardless, but without help, some of us are gonna die. We also learned that the newborns are so strong because they're full of human blood still. It's their own blood reacting to the change. It lingers in the tissues and strengthens them. Bella also like keeps thinking about how she wants to be a vampire, but she doesn't just want to become a vampire anymore. She's pretty like set and intent on Edward being the one to change her. I wanted his venom to poison my system. It would make me belong to him in a tangible, quantifiable way. And I actually really like that. I think that's actually like kind of not romantic, but like hot in a toxic sort of way. Like if I had a vampire boyfriend, I would also want to have his venom in my body, you know? It's kind of giving, I think you know what it's giving. I can't say what it's giving, but then she sees Jacob again. And this is the moment we have all been waiting for, okay? This is what has kept me up at night ever since I learned that this happened. And I do remember this happening when I read it in high school, but I don't think I realized how kind of scary and gross and just wrong this situation with Jacob was until this. So let's get into it. Jacob takes a deep breath. I need to tell you something, and you already know it, but I think I should say it out loud anyway, just so there's no confusion on the subject. Bella was suddenly sure she didn't want to know what he was about to say, but he says, I'm in love with you, Bella. Bella, I love you, and I want you to pick me instead of him. Pick me! Choose me! Love me!
So pick me. Choose me. Love me.
I know you don't feel that way, but I need the truth out there so that you know your options. Bella says, I miss you when you're not there. When you're happy. It makes me happy. But I could say the same thing about Charlie, Jacob. Your family. Family. Remember this. Family. Like a brother, she said in the past. Fucking family. Your family, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. The halfway point in this book was the tipping point of Jacob no longer just being like, you know, he went from like long-haired, happy-go-lucky, golden retriever type vibes to like a little more intense and angry, but like still would do anything for her, to like just creepy, absolutely crossing the line. He stroked the tips of his fingers across my right cheek. I slapped his hand away. She slapped his hand away. Until your heart stops beating, Bella, he said. I'll be here, fighting. Don't forget that you have options. My heartbeats are numbered, Jacob. The time is almost gone. And also that's so freaky. Like literally her heartbeats are numbered. Like every time her heart beats, which is often, it's like, well, you have 100 beats left, you have 99 beats left, you have 89 beats left. Why can't I talk? You have 16 beats left. I saw the resolve form abruptly in his eyes. No, I started to object, okay? She's trying to say no. Put it on the record, she's trying to say no. But I was too late. I literally wrote ew. His lips crushed mine, stopping my protest. He kissed me angrily, his other hand gripping tight around the back of my neck. I'm pretty sure this is his first kiss. Like imagine going into your first kiss with like such passion. His other hand gripping tight around the back of my neck, making escape impossible. This is where it gets really, really gross, right? If she had the opportunity to stop it, it would be like, no, it's still wrong, but at least it's a misunderstanding. He's not even giving her the opportunity to get away or to say no. Not that he would respect that anyway. It's just really bad. I shoved against his chest with all my strength, but he didn't even seem to notice. Like, and this is what I mean about Stephenie Meyer, how I feel she didn't know what she wrote was like really, really bad. And she does call it at a certain point. I just don't think she realizes how bad it was. And it's supposed to feel like, oh my god, Bella just doesn't know what she wants. Bella is hiding her true feelings. Like Bella actually does want this and she just needs it forced upon her and it's so hot and sexy. But it's not. It's not. And I feel like this experience, we're supposed to be like, this is how she finally realizes that Jacob is, you know, that she also loves Jacob. But I feel like this just confused her, and him forcing himself physically on her is pretty much the same as him forcing himself emotionally on her, and she starts to doubt herself enough, like with him telling her enough, no, you do love me. It's like not changing her mind, but like giving her like feelings that aren't actually hers. Does that make sense? His mouth was soft despite the anger, his lips molding to mine in a warm, unfamiliar way. So the one thing that she does like about this kiss is that it's so different from Edward in the way that like he is so cold, but Jacob is so warm. I grabbed at his face, trying to push it away, failing again. He seemed to notice this time though, and it aggravated him. So he notices now that she is trying to get away from him, and yet his lips forced mine open, and I could feel his hot breath in my mouth. Acting on instinct, I let my hands drop to my side and shut down. I opened my eyes and didn't fight, didn't feel, just waited for him to stop. That is absolutely heartbreaking and terrifying. She can't even do anything to get him off her, so she just has to fucking dissociate while it happens. But this is supposed to be her awakening to her feelings for him? No. I'm sorry. I pretended I was a statue and waited. Like, at least the movie tried to redeem this. Like, the movie did not make it seem this bad. Like, when I watched the movie, I didn't even think there was anything wrong with it. I was just like, oh, he is desperate for her, read the situation wrong. And now it's just like so clear that that's not what happened. Are you done now? I asked in an expressionless tone. Yes, he sighed. He started to smile, closing his eyes. I pulled my arm back and then let it snap forward, punching him in the mouth with as much power as I could force out of my body. So this is also the turning point from him being her sunshine, her safe place. Like, he is no longer keeping her safe, not only because she physically breaks her hand, but because he put her in this situation where she had to literally dissociate. Like, this is terrible. You broke my hand. Bella, you broke your hand. He wasn't even rubbing his jaw like they did in the movies. How pathetic. She says, I can't wait to see what Edward does to you. I hope he snaps your neck, you pushy, obnoxious, moronic dog. Go, girl. Seriously, I would hate him after this too. I hate you, Jacob Black. And it is so fascinating how Stephenie Meyer did know that there was something wrong with this, because she writes Bella going from absolutely adoring Jacob to like saying these hateful things to him and calling it what it was, but then it's just brushed off so easily by so many of the characters and by Bella as well. And I'm not saying that like Edward necessarily keeps her safer than Jacob does. Like, he's put Bella into a lot of bad situations and also oversteps the boundaries with her as well, but I do think that Jacob is more forceful, whereas Edward at least respects her physical boundaries. Even like when he took the part out of her car, he was like, okay, if you don't want to see me tonight, I understand, like you might need your space. Jacob is more selfish, like he wants Bella and he's gonna do what he can to get her, and Edward is more like, if you would be happy with Jacob, I would let that happen and I would let myself suffer. And the main difference here is that Bella was always a willing participant in her relationship with Edward, and her relationship with Jacob keeps getting forced down her throat when she's uncomfortable with it. I would make you happy, Bella. There's so much I could give you that he can't. I'll bet he couldn't even kiss you like that because he would hurt you. I would never hurt you, Bella. Really? Really? Jacob does drive her home, okay? Oh, this part infuriated me, like makes me so mad. She thinks she broke her hand. I heard Jacob tell him, how did she do that? As my father, I thought Charlie ought to sound a bit less amused and a bit more concerned, which is so true, because any other time she hurts herself, he's very concerned about it. But all of a sudden, because she's with Jacob and like the way this whole scene is framed, like he doesn't give a fuck. Jacob laughed. She hit me. Charlie laughed too. Why did she hit you? Because I kissed her. Good for you, kid. Oh my god? Question mark? Oh my god? It's pretty clear that Bella did not want that kiss, and it resulted in Bella punching him in the face. So the fact that, like, I know he likes Jacob and he trusts Jacob and he's known Jacob's dad, but in what world would you support a man who has done that to your daughter? And I love Charlie Swan, okay? My cat is named Charlie Swan after Charlie Swan, the daddy of Twilight. Team fucking Charlie, okay? This got me questioning a lot of things. Bella calls Edward to come and get her because she wants Carlisle to look at her hand. I'm pretty sure Edward already knew that Jacob was about to like share his feelings to Bella, so he's happy that Bella wasn't into it, but I don't think he knows the extent of what happened yet. That doesn't sound like you, he said, wary now. What did he do? He kissed me, I growled. All I heard on the other end of the line was the sound of an engine accelerating. I noted that was kind of hot. A little. I also noted that, like, this kind of goes with what I was saying earlier. At least Edward tries to be somewhat respectful. Like, he's definitely controlling, but he's more thoughtful about it and less selfish about it. And also he learns her boundaries and grows as a person in this relationship, where it seems like Jacob just keeps regressing as his character progresses into being a wolf. Edward says to Jacob, if you ever bring her back damaged again, if you return her to me in less than the perfect condition that I left her in, you will be running with 3 legs. Do you understand that, mongrel? As much as we love a protective king, it just feels like we're brushing off the fact that she was literally like, yeah, she broke her hand. Who cares? This isn't really the main problem here, in my opinion. If you ever kiss her again, I will break your jaw for her. What if she wants me to? Jacob drawled. If that's what she wants, I won't object, Edward shrugged. Jacob's like, I'm gonna continue fighting for her. Edward's like, I'm also gonna fight for her. Bella is also thinking a lot more about becoming a vampire. When she becomes a vampire, all she's going to want is blood. And what kind of human experiences is she going to miss out on? Bella starts doing some investigating. Alice, don't you see? It's the same. The one who broke in and stole my things and the new vampires in Seattle, they're together. We're on page 348, by the way. It took them that long to piece the information together, and it was Bella to think of it. Yeah, now let's bring Victoria into the mix, right? If Victoria was our threat beforehand, why aren't we considering the fact that this is Victoria. Like, it's not a surprise. Now we're moving on to graduation. Charlie ends up saying, no matter whose side I'm on, if someone kisses you without your permission, you should be able to make your feelings clear without hurting yourself. You didn't keep your thumb inside your fist, did you? Again, with like, oh, you were so close, like you were almost there, but is it really about the punch? No, it's not. It just seems like we're boiling this kiss down to like some silly thing, like your friend tried to kiss you, you didn't like it, but it was really intense, and she doesn't really tell anyone the like extent of the intensity of what happened either. Like, it wasn't just a kiss, like she was really like fighting for her life and he wasn't letting her go. Alice ends up throwing this huge graduation party that Bella obviously doesn't want because she's like, I hate parties, blah 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 blah. She had invited Jacob to the party before this had happened, and he ends up showing up anyway. I thought I'd rescinded that invitation, not that I'd ever dreamed Jacob would come here regardless, so I don't think Jacob was gonna show up to the vampire party, but now that Bella is mad at him, he's like, this is my opportunity to spend more time with her. You invited me, remember? He said. In case my right hook was too subtle for you, let me translate. That was me uninviting you. Since this is like pretty much a direct quote that was used in the movie, it reminded me of the fact that when Edward came to find Bella after she broke her hand, he didn't like run up to Jacob and was like, wait for her to say the words. Like they definitely like made him come across in the movie like he was really mad and like protective of her, but he was very chill. And I do think that that was on purpose to make him seem more like rational to her, and he's like definitely playing the game better than Jacob is, because Jacob's a lot younger though. Like it's not really a fair fight. I shouldn't have kissed you like that. It was wrong, I guess. Then he goes, I guess you'd rather be with your real friends. Aw, Jake, you know that's not fair. She's already giving in. No. Hey, you said you made me something, right? Was that just talk? Where's my present? Like, now she's trying to make him feel better. It's a bracelet with a miniature wolf charm that was very realistic, and he like whittled it himself. I also noted some kind of terrible writing on page 377. Before that reaction, her face was full of stress and fear. And I took a lot of writing courses in university, and you never want to be too telling. You don't want to say her face was full of stress and fear. You want to describe what her face looked like that shows the fear. So like maybe her eyebrows are knit together, or like her face went pale white, or whatever it is, right? But again, we're not here for the wonderful writing. Alice has a vision that this new army is coming to find them. This is when Jacob is hearing about all of this and learning that the vampires need some help in this fight, and so he volunteers them. Alice grins at Jacob, and he grins back, which I thought was pretty cute. I just saw a deleted scene on TikTok of a conversation between Alice and Jacob that they cut out of the movie, and I'm really interested to see. I know it didn't happen in this book, like if it happens in Breaking Dawn or something.
What?
I can't just stand next to you.
So now Jasper is teaching the wolves how to attack newborn vampires because of his experience with the newborn armies. He knows exactly how to do it in the best way possible. He explains, don't let the newborns get their arms around you, and don't go in for the obvious kill because they don't have any skills, they just have strength. I want to know what he plans to do with you during the fight, Jacob says. You can't stay in Forks, Bella. Edward's voice was pacifying. They know where to look for you there. Jacob gestured to the deep forest, to the vast expanse of the Olympic Mountains. Hide her there, he suggested. There's a million possibilities, places either one of us could be in just a few minutes if there's a need. I am absolutely floored by the fact that they originally were just gonna let her be up in the mountains, like in the forest alone, and no one was gonna be there with her. I think that's crazy, considering how protective everybody is over her. But we're almost done our discussion. I might be able to wrap up this video today, and I'm getting ready later because I have a date, so maybe I'll finish it then. Okay, I'm back. Edward's like, this isn't really gonna work. Her scent is too strong, and combined with mine, very distinct. Even if I carried her, it would leave a trail. Jacob's like, well, my scent disgusts you, right? So they're going to confuse Bella's scent with Jacob's scent because naturally the vampires aren't going to want to follow the wolf's scent. Bella is also going to leave a false scent in the clearing so that they'll think that she's there. Bella is like absolutely sickened by the fact that both of these men just seem like so excited for this fight, and she's really afraid to lose both of them, even Jacob, even though she's really pissed at him right now, rightfully so. They decide that Bella's gonna be there alone, but Seth is going to be there because if he's in his wolf form, he's going to be able to communicate with the other wolves, and then if Bella needs any help, one of them will be able to race up the mountain to help her. I still think this is very weird that they even like considered leaving her there. Bella pops a couple Pop-Tarts in the toaster, which is one of the only times we hear about her actually eating. Actually, I don't know if she eats them. Then this part I found very interesting and symbolic. Edward moves his hand under the charm of her bracelet and balanced the little figurine in his snowy palm. For a fleeting moment, Bella was afraid. Just the slightest twist of his fingers could crush it to splinters. Edward really has power over the relationship Bella has with Jacob, but Jacob doesn't necessarily have any power over the relationship Edward has with her. Edward is a little bit jealous because he wishes Bella had a charm representing him that would make her think about him all the time, even though she already thinks about him all the time. Edward ends up sharing with Bella that when he was reading Jacob's mind, he found out that Jacob is second in command, so the pack has to follow his orders just as much as they follow Sam's. The legends say that they always accept without question the orders of the direct grandsons of the original wolf who had the power to transform, and since Jacob is related to him, Jacob should be the one in charge. And we learn that Leah Clearwater has been transformed into a wolf as well. Now she's a part of Sam's pack, having to hear his thoughts and unable to hide her own, meaning that she has to listen to how much he loves Emily. Not to mention, what I didn't even bring up was how odd it is that there is a woman wolf in the pack. Like, this is not something that normally happens. It's normally the men. So this is something I need to do more research on. Like, why is it that Leah Clearwater is part of the pack and like there's never been another woman in the pack? Like, was this unpacked? That was a great pun. Upon my further research, it's apparent that there was no reason given, but throughout Breaking Dawn, I'm pretty sure we do get, I don't know if we get Leah's perspective, but we get a lot of Jacob's perspective, and Leah thinks that there's something wrong with her, that she is the only female shapeshifter ever, and there's a lot of theories that this could be because of her rage. The fact that normally men experience enough rage to transform into wolves, and women normally don't experience this, but she was just a very angry person after what happened to her, rightfully so. That's one theory, but we don't have an answer. Bella is really trying to guilt Edward into staying with her. So remember when I was like, she's starting to think about all these human experiences that she's going to miss, or like things that she wants to experience before she becomes a vampire. I knew which human experience I was going to insist upon before I became inhuman. Her and Edward start kissing. I began to feel cautiously optimistic. We all know what she wants. Perhaps getting what I wanted wouldn't be as difficult as I'd expected. Then he gives her a heart-shaped crystal to go on her charm bracelet next to the wolf one, which just reminds me of the bike situation. Like, he is a little bit insecure. Like, as much as he knows how Bella feels about him, he does think that Bella has feelings for Jacob and is a little bit insecure about that and needs to compete. At the end of the day, up until this point, Bella has been very adamant that Jacob is only a friend, and to stand in the way of that friendship by like trying to butt in, you know, not good behavior. So she's still trying to sleep with him. "Listen to your heart fly," he murmured. "It's fluttering like a hummingbird's wings. Are you all right?" I just thought that was so random. Like, okay, poet. She's like, "Okay, let's talk about this. So your prerequisite to changing me is matrimony." Edward's like, "Tell me what you want and you can have it." When I wrapped my arms around his neck, I kissed him. The trembling didn't help as I tried to hurry to undo the buttons before he stopped me. Like, as if she's gonna get in his pants before he has time to stop her when he's so much faster and stronger than her. He pushed me away at once, his face heavily disapproving. "Be reasonable, Bella." That is so funny. I'm sorry. Like, that's actually so funny. Like, this is all she wants, and he's like, ew. No, he's not saying ew, but you know. I growled. I moved my hands to my blouse and yanked open the top button. Let's also remember this. She is like desperately trying to undress herself to sleep with this man, and he is not having it at this moment. The reflex of my reaction told me that I was unwanted and unwantable. You know I have to say no, he murmured. You know that I want to. Do you? I whispered, my voice full of doubt. Of course I do, you silly, beautiful, oversensitive girl. I do feel like when she like gets into these situations with Edward, she's very insecure about herself. That was especially in Twilight and New Moon, especially when he left her. But she's very like, I'm just an ordinary girl. I'm not that pretty. I'm not that special. I don't have any special powers. I'm not a vampire. I'm not gorgeous. Like, why would he want me? But she doesn't feel that way with Jacob, and it might just be as simple as her not returning the feelings. And that again is why I feel like she doesn't really love Jacob, because we see that insecurity come out of her when she really, really loves Edward. And it's not like she doesn't think the world of Jacob too. She also thinks that Jacob is beautiful, and yet she doesn't ever think like, why would he want me? She never thinks that about Jacob. So you could argue that it's like healthier, and absolutely it is in that sense, but I feel like her natural inclination as a young teenage girl, let's remember she's 18, when she has strong feelings for someone, she's gonna question why they feel that way about her. And that's why I think that she never genuinely had super strong feelings for Jacob, and that she was kind of like brainwashed into thinking that way. And that's okay if you don't agree with me. This is just how I feel. I feel broke. Sorry. She says that her only demand is sleeping with him. I mean, that is a little weird considering he's also okay, we're demanding things. I understand. Maybe let's not demand it, but okay. Getting married is a stretch for me. I'm not giving in unless I get something in return. Also, like, giving in, like, the wording of this is important because she doesn't want to get married. Like, she doesn't want to get married. And it's like, we're negotiating marriage for becoming immortal. We're negotiating, like, it's a lot. There's a lot to unpack here. It's like we're taking these very like natural experiences and just like supercharging them. So she's explaining to him why this means so much to her. I will be different because right now physically there's nothing I want more than you. More than food or water or oxygen. You don't want to hurt me so much that I don't think you ever could. His face was torn. So she's like starting to convince him. This is literally the moment right here where he's finally considering this as an option for them, which I find very funny. I'll marry you. I'll let you pay for Dartmouth. You can even buy me a fast car if that makes you happy, just please. And I remember this so much in the movie. I remember being like, why is she saying you can buy me all these things? Because it wasn't really explained in the movie how much money the Cullens had, how Edward really wants to buy her things, and this is like a huge deal breaker for her. Like, she doesn't want his money, she doesn't feel comfortable with that, which I understand because the power dynamic is already going crazy. I feel like they threw this into the movie without the extra context that makes it make sense. Bella, would you please stop trying to take your clothes off? Crazy sentence coming out of a man's mouth. I don't know if I heard that. I don't know if there's any I don't know how I would go on. Do you want to do that part? She asks. Not tonight. Bro. He humbles her. I'm not saying no, he reassured me. I'm just saying not tonight. And I actually am not really sure what she said this time that made it more convincing because nothing has really changed between them. Then he lets drop about the whole virtue thing. That's it, isn't it? You're trying to protect your virtue. I'm trying to protect yours, and you're making it shockingly difficult. I thought that was really, really gross, actually. Like, are we doing all of this about morals? Like, you are literally vampires who have lived 100 years, and you're worried about virtue? He also says that he is a virgin. This is the only area in his life that he is like spotless and clean like she is. Whatever. This is coming from a very religious perspective. I can't believe I didn't realize like how weird it was that marriage was so important to Edward. And then he gives her the engagement ring that was her mother's. He gets down on a knee and she says, "Oh no." And he says, "Be nice. I promise to love you forever. Every single day of forever. Will you marry me?" She says yes, and he says, "Thank you." So that was the official proposal. You know what else wasn't explained in the movie? The bed. I remember being like, why does he have a bed all of a sudden? Hi, friends. I'm exhausted. Like, this has just been the craziest week, 2 weeks of my life. I haven't been sleeping very much, but I've been very, very productive. I have about 45 minutes, like, between cat sitting. So I thought, you know, today's the perfect day for like cozy reading chair moment. Also, I did get ready last night for my date and I was planning on either finishing this video before or after, but the date didn't even end up happening. I had a little bestie emergency too, and it was fine. That's definitely like how I would prefer to spend my time anyway. This was the third man, okay? Third man that I mentioned within this vlog, and just for, in my defense, okay, I started filming this in like December, I believe. So some time has passed. I've been working on this video for a while. Since I've already spilled all the fucking beans already, I might as well say that this third man was a guy that I was pretty interested in. I've just felt so like on and off about it. So I ended up like sending him a message that was like, I think we should just be friends. We like tried to hang out so many times, it just never happened. Like something just feels off about it. And then this other guy that I used to talk to reached out to me recently, but we've been literally like on and off situationship vibes for multiple years. Like I've been in relationships in the meantime, but we just like always come back to each other, and feels kind of fitting for this video that I'm working on anyway. So when we get to the Breaking Dawn video, we will come back and we will discuss probably whatever trauma goes down within the next couple of weeks, because I just can't catch a break. That being said, I wanted to finish off the vlog like looking super cute. Like I had my makeup done, I had my hair done, but this is also a vibe. Jacob shows up to take her up the mountain. Bella tells Jacob that Edward is the only man she's ever kissed, and he says, besides me. And she says, but I don't count that as a kiss, Jacob. I think of it as more of an and he says, ouch, that's cold. And this is such a double-edged sword, because it's like, thank you, Stephenie Meyer, for calling it what it is, but then it's still like spoken about in a jokey manner. Like, ouch, that's cold, as if she just like insulted him and said that he like his hair looked bad that day. Like, no, like that's actually what it was. Like, that's what it was. It's so fucking weird to me. According to you, you've kissed just one person who isn't even really a person in your whole life, and you're calling it quits? How do you know that's what you want? Shouldn't you play the field a little? In normal circumstances, I would agree with this wholeheartedly, but shut the fuck up. You could kiss me, for example. I don't mind if you want to use me to experiment. If you ask me to kiss you, Edward won't have any reason to get upset. He said that was fine. Do you ever get tired of lying to yourself? And I genuinely just believe that he is trying to fucking brainwash her into like thinking that she's in love with him when she only loves him as a friend, and she wanted to be with him when she was lonely, and that was it. And I will die on that hill. When are you going to finally figure out that you're in love with me too? So they get up to the mountain, and they knew it was going to be snowy beforehand, but a storm is brewing. They talk about how Jacob was supposed to be the alpha. He says it's no big thing. How did Sam end up as the alpha and you as the beta? Sam was the first, the oldest. It made sense for him to take charge. It's more about the lineage, you know, sort of old-fashioned. So Jacob is supposed to be in charge of the pack, but he's decided to let Sam have the job because he doesn't want it. So in the middle of the night, it's fucking freezing. But for some reason, all they brought was this flimsy-ass tent and a sleeping bag for Bella to be in. No space heater. They could have brought a million blankets, but they didn't. Like, I just feel like there were so many solutions to this, and they just did not think it through at all. And normally Edward is like on top of these things. Like when Bella was having a sleepover at his house, he provided a bed. Like when Bella was upset about Jacob, he decided that he was going to buy a bike so that he could bike with her. Like, it just seems like he thinks about everything in every possible scenario, but it would be so convenient for Stephenie Meyer if Bella was cold in this tent, because then we can create a love triangle scenario within the tent, like a little, the word I want to use I can't use. Let me just say that. So it's very convenient that he's not very thoughtful in this moment, is what I'm saying. Jacob comes in the tent, he's like, you need a space heater. I am a space heater, babe. Edward snarled, but Jacob didn't even look at him. Instead, he crawled to my side and started unzipping my sleeping bag. When I was young and I watched this in the movie, I ate this fucking shit up, okay? I ate this shit up. I thought this was the hottest thing ever, and I was so Team Jacob, and like, I keep going back and forth with Team Jacob and Team Edward. I just have such an issue with Jacob in this book in particular. But I think this sucks. Like, it's kind of tainted now because Bella's in this position where she's literally going to freeze to death unless she lets the person who just assaulted her take care of her. And I know, like, I'm shit talking him so much, and I think that Stephanie Meyer kind of did Jacob's character really, really dirty in this book. And with just like a few tweaks to the plot, it could have been a completely different story. And I wouldn't have to feel guilty for being Team Jacob. I couldn't object. I didn't want to anymore. He was so warm.
She may need her toes someday. And let's face it, I am hotter than you.
You'll be warm in a minute, he says. Of course, you'd warm up faster if you took your clothes off. He also says that Edward is just jealous, and Edward says, of course I am. And Jacob says, at least you know she wishes it was you. And Edward says, true. And then we have some terrible, terrible description. The storm howled like an animal attacking the tent. Like an animal attacking the tent? We couldn't have done any better than that. Bella is listening to this conversation, but they think she's asleep. Jacob complains to Edward about, like, at least he has the advantage of her knowing that she's in love with him. Jacob says, she's in love with me too, you know, but she doesn't know it. I really like this conversation between Jacob and Edward. I think it's just so interesting how they hate each other, but they're so open and honest with each other in this vulnerable moment. And they talk about like the strategies they were taking to like try to win her over. Edward says, when I saw how much it was hurting her to make her choose, I decided not to. Jacob asks, would you try to kill me if she changed her mind? And Edward says no. They talk about when Edward left her, and he says that he was always going to come back and check on her, and he likes to believe that if he found her happy, he would have left again. But we know that he wasn't happy and he was coming back for her. I'm not sure if he would have left for that reason. I feel like it's kind of 50-50. Jacob says that he had a game plan. Give me a year, Edward. I really think I can make her happy. Like, as if this is Edward's choice. Like, that's so crazy. If you know that the girl you want doesn't want you, so you need to beg her partner to like let you have her, like, she's not gonna be with you fucking regardless, bro. Not at this point. And I feel like he feels that he can reason with Edward because Edward's a good person, because he wants her to be human. And he didn't know that information before, so it's kind of like leverage now, using it against him. Jacob, if it weren't for the fact that we're natural enemies and you're also trying to steal away the reason for my existence, I might actually like you. Maybe if you weren't a disgusting vampire who was planning to suck the life out of the girl I love, well, not even then, Jacob joked. In the morning, Jacob asks Edward if it was like the worst night of his life, and he says it wasn't the worst night of my life, but if I had been able to take your place last night, it would not have even made the top 10 of the best nights of my life. Dream about that. Saying that he's had much better experiences with Bella than what Jacob just experienced. So Jacob leaves, but he's like outside the tent. Bella thinks that he's gone, and she wonders what the best night of his life was, like what's in first place, and he says, that would be 2 nights ago when you finally agreed to marry me. And then she hears a howl. So Edward knew that Jacob was outside listening the whole time, but she didn't. But she says, I'm a hideous person. She's mad at herself for upsetting Jacob rather than being mad at Edward for putting her in that position. But at the end of the day, I don't really blame him because, like, what the fuck? I couldn't have them both because Jacob could not just be my friend. It was time to give up wishing for that. How ridiculously greedy could any one person be? Jacob literally threatens to go down to the fight and like get himself killed. Jacob, I'm begging you, stay with me. I love you, Bella, he murmured. I love you, Jacob, I whispered brokenly. Anything you want, Jacob, just don't do this. He wants her to convince him that she really wants him. Ask me, he suggested. Will you kiss me, Jacob? And this again is so fucking sickening because she doesn't even want to do that. She was just thinking about the fact how like she wants to spend her life with Edward and she needs to let Jacob go because Jacob's in love with her and she doesn't feel that way and she doesn't want to hurt him anymore by trying to be his best friend anymore. And now she feels like he's going to end it all unless she kisses him. And I know what's about to happen and I know that people are going to defend it and I understand that perspective as well. But within the context that it's in, this isn't a good thing. His lips found mine with an eagerness that was not far from violence. Like from the very beginning, this is not framed as true love's kiss. Like with Edward, he's so careful, and when he becomes less careful, it's very like sexy and intense in a lovey-dovey way. But Jacob is so like violent. Like it's not, it's from desperation, not like from genuine love. You can do better than this, Bella, he whispered. You're overthinking it. Like if you have to say that to someone, you need to pack it up. Are you sure you want me to come back or did you really want me to die? Like that is so fucking weird and manipulative to say. I actually can't believe this. I fought back, struggling to pull my face away from his, and Jacob misunderstood. Instead of anger, he imagined passion. He thought I was finally responding to him. That is so concerning. But the utter defenselessness of his sudden joy cracked my determination, disabled it. My brain disconnected from my body and I was kissing him back. And I feel like we're meant to be like, this kiss was so amazing and passionate for her that she finally realized that she is in love with him. And this is just not how it's written. Her determination to not kiss him is cracked because of how much he is forcing himself on her. And like the first time when she allows her body to go limp, this time she allows her mind to disconnect from her body so that she can be in this moment with him. And yes, she kisses him back, and yes, she claims that she likes it, but it just doesn't feel authentic and real and like something that she actually wanted. It feels like it was like forced down her throat. My lips were moving with his in a strange, confusing ways they've never moved before, because I didn't have to be careful with Jacob and he certainly wasn't being careful with me. And let's not forget, she's 18 years old. She has only kissed one person, and this is one person who has to be so careful with her that she's missing that physical aspect. So she's craving like the physicality of being in love with someone, and since she's not getting that from Edward, it would be confusing to get that from someone else, whether you love them or not. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if she was lying to herself or not, because she made it clear in so many ways that this is not what she wanted, and she was manipulated into doing this. The piercing sunlight turned my eyelids red, and the color fit matched the heat. Why wasn't I stopping this? Worse than that, why couldn't I find it in myself for the desire to want to stop? I'd been lying to myself. And I feel like that line, I'd been lying to myself, is just disappointing for all the reasons I'd already stated. Like, it makes sense that you don't want him to stop because you're craving that physical intimacy with somebody that you can't get from the person you actually want to be with. Jacob was right. He'd been right all along. He was more than just my friend. That's why it was so impossible to tell him goodbye, because I was in love with him too. I loved him much more than I should, and yet still nowhere near enough. I was in love with him, but it was not enough to change anything. It was only enough to hurt us both more, to hurt him worse than I ever had. Like I said, I was Team Jacob in the past. Like, I'm not gonna just sit here and try to like shit on Team Jacob for the sake of it. If this was written differently, I would not feel this way, but it's in the language. But before he leaves, he says, "That should have been our first kiss. Better late than never." So when Edward finds out that this happened, he's more than okay about it. Like, and if you had any right to be mad, this would be the moment, but this is the moment you choose to be calm, cool, and collected. "You love him," he murmured gently. "I love you more," I said. "When I left you, Bella, I left you bleeding. Jacob was the one to stitch you back up again, but things from here happen really, really fast." So down in the clearing, the Cullens and the wolves are fighting the army, but somebody is up on the mountain with them. Victoria is there. You were right, it was always Victoria, Edward says, like fucking obviously. And there is also a blonde guy there. I could barely look at the blonde boy. Yes, he was just a boy, though he was muscular and tall, maybe my age when he was changed. Victoria's orange hair was brighter than I'd remembered, more like a flame. She's lying to you, Riley, Edward told him. Listen to me, she's lying to you, just like she lied to the others who are dying now in the clearing. He's the liar, Riley, Victoria said. I told you about their mind tricks. You know I love only you. Bella sees Seth kind of struggling and thinks that they need help, a distraction, something to give them an edge, and she remembers the legend of the third wife who stabbed herself to distract the vampires. So she presses a stone into the tip of her elbow. As Riley's like finally being finished off, he screams Victoria's name and she doesn't even flinch at the sound, doesn't even try to help him, and Edward kills her. The fiery tangle of hair was no longer connected to the rest of her body. The shivering orange waves fell to the ground and bounced once before rolling toward the trees. I thought that was a very, very nice description. Edward is mad at her for hurting herself because Seth was just faking it to like trick Victoria, and he was like fine the whole time. I forgot to mention this when I was filming, but you know the scene on the mountain in the movie after the two of them are killed and Edward like goes up to Bella. First of all, in the book, he's very cautious at first. He's like, oh my god, you're probably afraid of me after you saw me just kill people. And she's like, no, like I'm startled over what happened, but I would never be afraid of you. But in the movie, he doesn't do that. He just like goes up to her and is very like cold and pissed off that she would put herself in a dangerous position. And he like rips part of her shirt to like cover her wound. And every time I see this scene, I'm like, what the fuck? Why would he rip her shirt? Like it seems like he's written as kind of like an old-fashioned type gentleman, like always very thoughtful of her safety and like doing nice things for her, and then he rips her shirt instead of like ripping his own shirt, like as he doesn't even need a shirt. Like rip your what? The Volturi decided it was finally time to intercede, so they have to go down to the clearing to meet with the Volturi. This is very interesting to me as well. So the wolves don't go down because the Volturi do not honor truces with werewolves, but they'll be fine. The Volturi won't recognize the scent. They won't realize the wolves are here. This isn't a species they're familiar with. The pack will be fine. We're supposed to believe that the main purpose of the werewolves are to protect humans from the vampires. But the Volturi, who are essentially like the lawmakers of this universe, don't know them? Are there other species that they are aware of? Like, are there fairies? Are there witches? Like, what is happening? Are there only werewolves in Forks, Washington? Because we know that there are vampires all over the globe, but do we only have werewolves in one place? I have so many questions. They learn that Jacob got hurt in the fight. And then that's when Bella sees one of the newborn girls, like they had spared her life. She looked maybe 15, dark-haired and slight. But Jane from the Volturi says there are no options for those who break the rules and starts like interrogating Bree. Bree says that she doesn't know who was in charge because Riley never said her name. He didn't want us to be able to think of her. He said that our thoughts weren't safe. And they also are a little bit suspicious of the fact that the Cullens destroyed this whole army alone. And of course they didn't, but they can't tell them that. They destroyed the newborn despite Carlisle saying that like she didn't know what she was doing and they can teach her. They don't care, they're very callous and cruel. I'm excited to read the Bree story. There's like a short story novella moment about Bree, and I'll be doing a video on that as well. Meanwhile, Jacob has been healing way too fast, so Carlisle has to re-break all of his bones so that they can heal in the proper way. And then this is actually a conversation I've been waiting for a very long time. Bella is speaking to Alice about her abilities. You see my future sometimes. Why is it that nothing else works on me? Not what Jane can do, or Edward, or Arrow. Jasper can use his powers on you too, Bella. His talent works on your body just as well as it does on anyone else's. That's the difference. Jasper's abilities affect the body physically. He really does calm your system down. It's not an illusion, and I see visions of outcomes, not the reasons and thoughts behind the decisions that create them. But Jane and Edward and Arrow and Dimitri, they work inside the mind. I do find that to be very, very interesting. And at first I was kind of struggling with how Jasper's powers don't affect the mind, because like your mind controls how your body feels. But I guess it's an okay argument. Like, I guess since Jacob is healing, he tells Charlie and like other humans that he got into a motorcycle accident. Charlie is a little bit suspicious about what's happening and he's kind of confused, but not enough to like piece everything together, obviously, because why would you? I have that much left to talk about. I do have to go right now, but I will be back this afternoon to finish off the discussion so that I can get this video up for you guys. Hey guys, I'm back and we are finally going to wrap this up, okay? I've been like running around like a fucking chicken with my head cut off. This man reached out to me on my TikTok and was like, hey, I wrote a book. It's called Immortal. It's about this girl who like makes an AI and it's like sentient, like a sentient being, and no one believes her that it's alive. I looked at his account. He's so sweet. He asked me if I would review it on my TikTok account. He was like, looks like it would be right up your alley. Totally looks like it would be. I also work in AI at the moment, so I'm really excited to read that. And if you want to see my review on it to see if that would be a book for you, then go to my TikTok account. It's Words by Sydney. I'll have it linked down below as well. He literally emailed me a copy of it. I just downloaded it onto my Kindle. I've only read 2 books on my Kindle so far. So I had no idea how to like get a file on here, but I figured it out and now I'm like gonna be unstoppable because I'm just gonna be able to like download books on my Kindle instead of buying all of them. But it was like the first time ever that an author reached out to me to like give me their book for me to review. So that was a very exciting moment and I just want the best for him. And I think that obviously I haven't read it yet, so but I think he deserves like people going over to his account. So I'll also link his TikTok below. Bella wishes that she could be struck by lightning and split into 2, preferably painfully. For the first time, giving up being human felt like a true sacrifice, like it might be too much to lose. So she wishes that she could be 2 versions of herself. One human version who can live her life as human and do the deed as a human being, and then the other version that can be a vampire and be with Edward. And this is the first time that she's really wanted that. Girl literally only gives a fuck about her human life if it has to do with somebody else. Her dad says something like, I feel like I'm gonna lose you soon, like just be careful. Jaw on the fucking floor. That's sickening. This is just giving me like flashbacks to Breaking Dawn when Charlie sees Bella and she like looks completely different. This man has been through it. Choice is very, very clear. She's not going to live without Edward, and I didn't really ever question that reading this book. In my opinion, like, there's no competition. There's no real true love triangle because Jacob was never an option. Bella goes to see Jacob. He's obviously hurt and this makes it so much harder for her to like literally break up with him, even though she only kissed him so he wouldn't die. Bella says, does it make things better or worse for you having me know that I'm in love with you? When it doesn't make a difference either way, would it have been better, easier for you if I had never clued in? Yeah, it's better to have you know, he decided. If you hadn't figured it out, I'd have always wondered if your decision would have been different if you had. Now I know I did everything I could. And honestly, true. This was literally the only way he was going to let it go because he was dying on the hill like, you love me, but you just don't know it. And he thought that if she realized that he loved him too, that it would either be like an equal fight or that she would choose him. But now he knows that it really doesn't matter. And I think he should have known that all along. He also says, you should have told me to go die. That's what you want. What? Literally, when did she ever say that's what she wants? I'll be your friend, Bella, he said quietly. I won't ask for more than that. I think it's too late for that, Jake. How can we be friends when we love each other like this? Girl, pick and choose your fucking battles at this point. Like, you have been fighting this whole entire series for him to agree to be your friend so that you didn't have to lose him. And now that he's agreeing to that, you're pushing back. Okay, I do really like this analogy though. You know that story in the Bible, Jacob asked? The one with the king and the 2 women fighting over the baby? Sure, King Solomon. Can we also talk about the fact that none of these people are religious in this book? Bella has never once said anything about being religious, neither has Jacob or Edward. The only person we know that was religious is Carlisle. So why does everyone have such knowledge of the Bible? He said, cut the kid in half, but it was only a test, just to see who would give up their share to protect it. I'm not going to cut you in half anymore, Bella, he said. I understood what he was saying. He was telling me that he loved me the most, that his surrender proved it. But I think that Edward has done the same thing. Like, he literally has said multiple times, like, if you want to be with Jacob, you can be with Jacob. It's not like he is forcing her to be with him. She wants to be with him. She thinks that she can see what he sees. If his claim had not been overshadowed by something stronger, something so strong that it could not exist in a rational world. She's thinking that, like, if Edward didn't exist, Jacob would have been her soulmate. Was it out there for Jacob too? Something that would trump a soulmate? I had to believe it was. I really want to know if Stephenie Meyer knew what she was about to write in Breaking Dawn at this point, because she's going hard on the foreshadowing. He's like a drug for you, Bella. It's too late. But I would have been healthier for you, not a drug. I would have been the heir. You are my son, my personal son. You balanced out the clouds nicely for me. He sighed. The clouds I can handle, but I can't fight with an eclipse. There we go. I was waiting for the mention of eclipse and Eclipse. We had Twilight and Twilight, New Moon and New Moon, and Eclipse and Eclipse, until your heart stops beating. Iconic line. I think maybe I'd still take you. Maybe. I guess that depends on how much you stink. I think this does show, like, Jacob's willingness to, like, reconsider still being a part of Bella's life, even when she does change. So they're in the meadow, okay? And Edward's, like, finally giving in. He's like, I'm finally ready for us to do it in this meadow. Deal's off, he said abruptly. What? I gasped. You're backing out? No. I'm not backing out, Bella. I'll still keep my side of the bargain, but you're off the hook. Whatever you want, no strings attached. He's saying, I do not require marriage for this to happen at this point. We're doing it your way, Bella. Tonight. Today. The sooner the better. I'll speak to Carlisle. I was thinking that maybe if we gave you morphine, it wouldn't be so bad. It's worth a try. He starts, like, pushing her into the grass, and Bella stops him. She has been literally doing everything in her power to get in this man's pants, and the second he's like, you're right, let's do it, she's like, no. And it's the same fucking shit that just happened with Jacob. He was like, after all of this time, you have been fighting to be my friend, and you know what, I'm going to be your friend. And she's like, no, I don't want to do this now. Don't you? He asked, a smile in his voice. Edward, this is very important to me. I am going to do this right. Responsibility. Everything in the right order. I will tie myself to you in every human way before I ask you to make me immortal. Your soul is far, far too important for me to take chances with. I thought that you didn't believe in the whole soul damned to hell thing. But now you do? It doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry, it doesn't make sense to me. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna get married, and then they're gonna sleep together, and then she's gonna become a vampire. It's time to do something that will be very unpleasant and possibly even highly dangerous. It's a good thing you're bulletproof. I'm going to need that ring. It's time to tell Charlie. Highly dangerous, he agreed. That is the end, but there is an epilogue in Jacob's POV. He's thinking about kind of like how much he hates Leah. I remember back to when I used to think that Leah was pretty, maybe even beautiful. That was a long time ago. No one thought about her that way now. So because of the fact that he can read all of her thoughts now, he doesn't like her because she's miserable, as she should be. If I was listening to my ex all the time, thinking about this like new woman that he's with who's also my cousin, and also he can hear all my jealous thoughts, fuck that, that's fucking purgatory. Him and Leah are talking about the fact that like Edward and Bella are gonna be together. He'll probably just kill her anyway, Leah said. Maybe a funeral will be better closure than a wedding. Huh. I kind of love her though. The end of this book is kind of like the beginning of Breaking Dawn, when Jacob gets the wedding invitation and then starts like running in the rain. He gets the wedding invitation, but he actually gets it from Edward, and Edward's like, I want this to be your choice if you want to attend or not. Like, Bella doesn't want to put you in this position, and obviously Jacob is unhappy. So that is Eclipse. We made it to the end. I know this is a long video. I had so much to say about this, and a lot of it was kind of heavy. I really like fucked it up too. A lot of it was really heavy just because I didn't realize all the like SA type stuff that was going on in this book, and that kind of really rubbed me the wrong way. So I'm glad we had some serious discussions. Obviously, whatever thoughts and feelings you have, leave it down below. I would love to discuss it some more. We are going to be doing Breaking Dawn soon. We're also going to be doing Midnight Sun. We're going to be doing Life and Death, and then the short Brief Life of Britannia or whatever. I want to get my hands on the graphic novel. Other than that, I'm going to be doing some Pretty Little Liars themed videos soon. There's some Pretty Little Liars short stories I want to talk about. The Liars, the audiobook that came out a couple years ago. We have so much to discuss. I'm doing The Time Traveler's Wife soon. Lots of fun and exciting things going on this channel if you love book content. And I'm also going to be doing some commentary on some Pretty Little Liars episodes too, because I noticed that people really like those. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your patience with me working on these really long videos. I'm so happy to be doing them, and I hope you will join me for the next video. Bye!